Hello, everybody. Welcome to Infinite Horizon. We are back for round 2. Uh, I hope everybody is having a good night tonight. We're very excited to bring you this second installment of our Twitch Cypher System stream. I just about put a whole bunch of different words together that were incorrect, and let me know if everything is sounding okay to everybody out there in the Twitch sphere. Because everything is chaos all the time, and everything changes in between streams constantly. So, I'm gonna wait to see confirmation on audio stuff. I think, maybe. Well, while I'm waiting, I'm just gonna vamp here for a second, and we are. No, never mind. Okay, John beat me to it. I couldn't think of anything to say. So good, audio's good. We're good to go on all that.
Nailed it. Got
Vamping is not my thing unless it's in the context of actually running the game, and otherwise I'm useless.
Many ways to vamp.
There are many ways to vamp. Exactly. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome back to some of you. Well, before we get started, we have our usual slew of announcements. Henry, if you want to go through those right now.
Oh, heck yeah. Hey, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for being here and welcome. Here's our first announcement. We are affiliates on Twitch, so a great way to support us is to subscribe right here. Help us keep the stream streaming and get rid of the ads. Let me do the command. Oh no, there isn't one for Twitch.
There isn't one for that. We're on Twitch already, Henry.
Because we're already there.
You're already here. You made it.
We could
Dang, I planned this out so carefully
to this
today.
stream, right? We could do that.
Yeah, we could. Another great way to support us is Patreon. There's also stuff related to our past, now concluded TTRPG show Dungeons and Dorm Rooms on there. There's behind the scenes stuff, some sound test tomfoolery, after shows. There's also world building perks related to our current streams for certain tiers. So check out our Patreon, and some of that stuff is available to everybody, not just patrons. So look at it, take a look. A new thing we have is a coffee. That's another great place to toss us a couple bucks if you can. Take a look at our short-term goals and see little updates about the channel. We also, this is a good one, we also have a Discord where you can share your own projects, see stream announcements, share memes and weird stuff. I put a picture of a can of deviled ham on there last Friday, I think. So join us in Discord.
Ooh, Henry, you're roboting hard.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Thanks.
Did I just start?
It was kind of doing it for a second there, but
Clear now?
a little bit. Yeah, seems clear.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know. Let me know if it keeps happening.
Sure.
Moving forward, we have a YouTube now. Is there a Nightbot thing for that?
There is.
Yes.
There is, isn't there? So we're uploading this show onto YouTube. The prologues for each of our characters are there too. So if you can't make it to the streams, if you want to watch in a format that I think is maybe more familiar to some people, check out our YouTube.
Yeah. Oh man, Henry, it's real laggy and roboty.
Shoot.
I think that's most of our announcements. Oh, we are on podcast now. We're in podcast
We're a
form.
podcast.
We're a podcast.
Yeah.
We're a podcast. I think I had a command for this too. Hold on, I got it.
I'm so excited about the podcast thing, you guys. I've been texting this about it like nonstop since we put it up.
Yep. So it's there. You can find it currently just on Anchor and Spotify, as far as I know. Caitlin, you check. Is there anywhere else right now?
I can double check, but I'm pretty sure as of today, earlier this afternoon, we were only available on. We have a new one. We are
Ooh.
now also available on Radio Public.
Hey, cool. I didn't
Cool.
get an email about it, so that's
Anchor, Spotify, and Radio Public. If you go through the Anchor link, it'll give you an option to listen on other platforms, and you can choose from
Yeah.
any of the available ones. So we anticipate over the next few weeks slowly gaining more. iTunes and Google Podcasts are kind of like
yeah.
not always the easiest to get into, so it might take like a month before we get there. So if those are your ones of choice, sorry about that. If you I think you can just take the RSS feed off of the site as well if you have a third-party podcasting site that you prefer. We've had a couple people ask for that already. So, podcasts, yay!
Podcast. We're a podcast. Okay. Is that everything? I feel like that might be everything. I can't think of anything else. We have a topic for Ramblemancy, don't we?
Yeah, it's robots.
That's right. We're talking about androids, robots, and synthetic beings.
That's why my voice was roboting. It was just a promo for Ramblemancy.
There you go.
There it is. Nailed
Poison Elf says Henry needs to spend an XP.
Yeah.
I do. I hope it worked. We'll see.
It sounds like it's okay for now. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I guess we will jump straight into tonight's episode of Infinite Horizon. So.
Some will say this is the end. We're surrounded, but we won't give in. Oh, who will save us? Who will save us? Sometimes you gotta let go. Leave it up to the hero. Who will save us? Who will save us? When the truth's in the shadows. All hail to the heroes. They're gonna save us. Yeah, save us. Yeah, save us today.
And welcome back. All right, man. We were just talking about how we never get tired of that intro. It's great. John even said it in the chat that I could see. All right. Well, last time.
Music?
Music. I don't have anything for this specifically right now, but
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you prepped one before.
nope. So last time on Infinite Horizon, the first time on Infinite Horizon, our party awoke from cryostasis on a doomed ship, struggling their way to the bridge after a few incidents where some weird things happened to all of them. Olim crunched together a maintenance hatch, seemingly just with just a quick gesture and a thought. Bina started feeling the natural empathic sort of reads that Orzai get, but way more sensitive than usual. Peach started noticing that she knew things about some of the other people in her group, having never met them before. And Mason seemed to have the strange affinity for adapting to various circumstances that befell him on the way to the bridge. But eventually, strange things aside, the party made their way to the bridge, only to find that the ship was even more doomed than they originally thought, in that it was crashing to the surface of a planet that none of them recognized. They raced quickly to the hangar bay, the only occupied hangar bay, where they quickly got into a ship, and through some pretty spectacular piloting on the part of the little Orzai Bina, managed to escape the crashing vessel before it impacted on the surface. Just shortly thereafter, the ship's sensors notified Bina of what appeared to be a colony on this world that they made for, needing to set down somewhere to remove the FTL boot from the drives that was keeping them from leaving the immediate vicinity of the planet they found themselves on. After setting down, the party began sort of investigating the colony, finding it uncomfortably deserted. Peach and Mason set off into the colony to start seeing if they could find any answers or anyone around, while Bina and Olim made for the engine room, trying to see if they could do anything about the boot that they found on their hyperdrive. while exploring the abandoned colony, Peach and Mason found lots of signs that the colony had at one point been inhabited, and in fact, anybody who had left had done so in the middle of their day, just with food having gone bad still on tables, furniture overturned, but no signs of life. In the meantime, in the engine room of the vessel, Bina and Olam started working on on diagnosing the boot, where Bina found that some part of it was not only inhibiting the FTL drives, but also some portion of the ship's computer function. At which point, Olam started hearing a strange sound from outside, a scraping sound, as if something was scraping the outside of the vessel. As they left to investigate, we had cut back to Mason and Peach, who had found their way to the research facility in the colony. The one building that seemed to still have working doors. As they made their way inside, they noticed that there was a camera, one of the security cameras that had spotted them, although who had seen them is still unclear. And as they continued to investigate further into the research facility, Mason and Peach discovered what appeared to be old bloodstains, and one very not old bloodstain, and that's where we ended last time. So, as we begin this session, Mason, it is 10 years ago, and you are standing in front of a mirror, looking at yourself in your brand new regulator's uniform. You kind of looking at the mirror. You kind of adjust, and as you kind of stand there, just kind of looking at your reflection, admiring the cut of the uniform, the door to the room just opens, and you turn to see a Keldro man step into the room. This is someone that you have briefly met. This is your commanding officer, Sergeant Iselik. He steps into the room and looks as you kind of salute. He just nods, says, "At ease." Says, "Well, I know it's usually protocol to go over some of the procedures and things, but as far as I know, you've gone over that 100 times, and we've already got a case."
Yeah.
So, you'll be riding along on this one, learning on the job.
All right.
As he indicates that you should follow him, he kind of steps out of your way to let you walk through the door first. As the two of you make your way into the corridor on the ship, making your way towards what you would recognize by this point as the shuttle bay. He is silent for a while, and he says, "So, you have any field experience yet?"
A little bit.
Good. He says, "Anything outside of training exercises?"
Well, I like to keep a sharp mind.
It's good. It'll serve you on this job. He says, "Well, just stick close and keep your mouth shut and your eyes open."
Yes, sir.
He leads you to... Eventually, you make your way to the shuttle bay, and you, along with sort of the entire task force, make your way planet-side. Out here on the border worlds, things are always... the situation is always tenuous at best. Like when the regulators first arrived, this whole region of space was controlled primarily by three main crime syndicates that kept everything in pretty peaceful equilibrium. However, when the regulators arrived and started deciding to bring law to these border worlds, eventually they managed to make headway, and effectively broke the backs of these crime organizations. Unfortunately, that resulted in a bunch of splinter organizations sort of popping up all over the place. Now the Border Worlds is a region that is dominated by every petty despot that has enough people to follow them, with the average everyday people caught in the middle of all of it. All of this is stuff that you're sort of going through the dossier, being recently arrived to the Border Worlds, on the way down to the planet. As you land on the planet, you make your way directly, just immediately, the shuttle not even fully touching down, just sort of the side of the shuttle opening as the task force just sort of drops to the ground. You make your way over to a series of buildings as the sergeant gives barks out a few orders as the task force starts securing the crime scene. You step into the room, kind of just on the heels of the sergeant, as you see what is apparently an old, sort of decrepit-looking restaurant. Not decrepit relative, just based on your walk to it, not decrepit based relative to the rest of the town, as it seems to all be the worst for wear. But as you step inside, you can see, as furniture has been overturned, you can see like kind of carbon scoring along the walls where energy bursts from energy weapons as well as projectile weapons seem to have made all these pockmarks in the walls and floors. Some of the furniture is just completely destroyed, but most prominent in the center of the room, you can see several forms that have been covered over with sheets, where currently the forensics team is already sort of spreading out. As you step inside, sort of glancing at those the covered forms, the sergeant says, "Well, what do we got?" And the forensics says, "We've got 3 dead civilians, sir. It looks like they got caught in the middle of dispute over territory between 2 of the local gangs." He shakes his head and kind of says, "Was this Alziris?" She nods. She says, "Looks that way, sir." He kind of just puts his head in his hands and says, "All right, just go ahead and bring the evidence to the shuttle. They've set down over at the port." Nod, "Yes, sir." He kind of glances over to where he sees you. You're kind of at this point. Actually, what are you doing?
Yeah, I want to give this I want to case it. I want to case this joint a little bit and see what I can get.
All right. Yeah, you're just kind of looking around the room. The thing that you're noticing is that it definitely looks like the site of a firefight.
Mm-hmm.
Like absolutely the site of a firefight. It seems like the forensics like they were correct in their initial assessment of this situation. You can see where there are some tables that have been turned over that like probably for cover.
Mm-hmm.
And the shatter pattern from the windows looks like it was some of them were actually shot outwards.
Okay.
And as you sort of are investigating, the sergeant sort of having a few conversations, but you notice out of the corner of your eye that he seems to be, while he's sort of getting reports from the CSIs, it looks like he's also kind of keeping an eye on you as you sort of make your way around the room. Eventually, your investigation around the room brings you right next to the forms, the covered bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm gonna look at them.
Okay.
I'm gonna lift up the.
You kind of reach down. You peel aside the sheets of the first one, and you see a Anzalonian woman, probably in her. It's hard to say, but probably pretty young, probably in her like late hundreds. As you're kind of like looking at that, you can see just the thing that catches you is just the huge chest wound. Definitely not made by an energy weapon. This was projectile.
Mm-hmm.
And even as you're looking, it looks like the wound is like, it looks like she probably died right here, because as you're looking around, as you sort of kneel down, you slide a little bit as you look down, as there's just sort of this pool of blood there. Just from looking at her, one of the things that you can see is that she's absolutely not a member of the syndicate. This seems like it was probably just a person living their life. You feel a hand on your shoulder as you look up. You can hear the sergeant's voice saying, "You all right, recruit?" And just as that happens, we will cut to on board the ship with Bina and Olin.
Oh no.
Back in the present. So, the last thing that you heard was just sort of this grinding, scraping sound outside of the ship. Bina, you heard
the
it.
Absence of something.
Yes, you felt
specifically the absence of a presence.
You felt specifically the absence of any sort of emotional presence, like a void, basically, is what you felt. So
I think I wrote Bina feels the void, and then that was dot dot dot, and that was the end of my notes.
That's metal as fuck. All right, so currently the two of you are slowly kind of creeping down the hallway back towards the boarding ramp. What are you guys doing?
I want to reach into my like book bag or satchel and try to fumble out the phase disruptor that I found in the locker, and kind of like hold it. Try to get. I don't think I've ever held a projectile, any kind of pistol-y weapon at all. I'm just
definitely
like
not.
looking at all the buttons on it and like just kind of holding it close to my chest.
All right. So the two of you continue moving. You still hear it from time to time. You can hear kind of like occasionally the sounds coming from just outside. Not as loud or particularly frequent, but every once in a while you just hear that kind of
Moving in different locations, or like slow staying localized to one area of the ship, or like.
It seems like it is sort of in one spot.
Which would be.
It would be sort of just on the other side of the hull from the engine room. Like so, which means that the sound that you were hearing was actually coming from below, because that's the only place where the engine room would actually like be close enough to outside.
Where is that place in relation to the boarding ramp?
It's a little bit closer to so the boarding ramp is a little bit further forward than that.
Are they on the same side of the ship though, as the sound and the boarding ramp?
The boarding ramp is in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. The two of you look at each other after hearing just sort of a particularly loud scrape.
I guess we should go out and look, see what that is.
I guess I don't know if there are really any other options besides like closing the ramp, but.
You got any ideas what it might be? What do you think? You know ships. Is this a ship thing, right? Maybe it could be just the ship.
No, I don't think this is a ship thing. I don't really think this is a ship thing.
Okay.
Can I like take out my terminal and like, can we get messages to each other here? You said there wasn't very good reception, but is that like long distance?
I would say that at this point is when you are pulling it out and you're just starting to hear like this sort of as you open it up, you receive sort of like an incoming signal, and you can hear Peach and Mason's voices, but they're like garbled.
Okay, could I send like a text file?
Yeah.
That would be maybe less like cumbersome to send between.
Yeah, I think you could probably manage that.
Bina's just gonna say, there's something under the ship. Investigating. Be careful. No other details. And she's gonna send that to Mason and Peach.
All right.
Whatever an equivalent of our sci-fi group chat is, that's what we've got going on in our journals.
Okay. I am going to say. So here's the thing. as you're standing there, just sort of listening for a moment, you can hear the sound stop. And Olam, it's at this moment that you remember that the boarding ramp is still open.
I turn towards where the boarding ramp is and mention briefly that it's still open to Bina and like try to peek around a corner to get a better look at the opening.
Okay. You can kind of see it from where you are in the corridor that leads to the engine room. You can see the top of the boarding ramp, but you don't see any movement or anything else. And so basically you're moving, you this whole time have been moving away from where you heard the sound, moving towards where the boarding ramp is. But you just heard the sound stop.
Is there like a quick shut button for the boarding ramp close to where it is? There must be. Somebody hit it when we took off. Didn't they?
No, there is. There is a control panel.
Okay, I just kind of like turn and look at Bina, and then I just want to try to run as fast as I can and slam the close button.
All right, this is gonna be a roll.
Oh!
Yay!
First roll of the night.
All right, this is gonna be a speed roll.
Ay.
The difficulty is going to be. I think the difficulty here is going to be. Difficulty here is going to be 2.
Okay. I'm just gonna roll. I'm not gonna spend any effort.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Encouragement works with defense. Is this a defense?
No.
No, this is not defense. Never mind.
No,
I don't know
it
why I
isn't.
keep thinking these are defense rolls. They're not. Never mind. Forget about it.
You could still toss a kind word my way, even if it doesn't have any mechanical effect.
Oh, it's fair. Hers don't really do words. It's more of a brain thing. But.
All right. What'd you get?
5.
5. Oh no.
Oh.
It's not enough, unfortunately. So you run for the boarding ramp, and you get about halfway across the cargo hold, and as you're running, you start seeing.
I'm moving too.
You get about halfway across the cargo hold before you start hearing sounds outside of the boarding ramp. Just sort of, it's sort of a rasping, clicking sound that you hear. And you can hear that it's getting closer, and you can start to see that, like, the way that the shadows are moving, like there is something moving towards the boarding ramp. And you're not gonna make it. You're definitely not gonna make it.
Then, as I realize that, I just try to like
backpedal.
Yeah, try to stop moving in a very Scooby-Doo-esque way.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So you, as you are running, you see the movement, and you can hear it, and you like gesture Bina back as you throw yourself back behind some crates that are just there. Bina, you have at this point only just started moving out of the corridor, so you can like duck back. And as you are just getting yourself into cover, you can hear that sound just sort of. Do either of you chance a look? Okay. Bina, you're still once again feeling that void, that absence. You're feeling it from the direction of the ramp. As you very slowly peek around the corner, you see standing at the top of the boarding ramp what appears to be an Anzalonian man. He's just sort of standing there, somewhat hunched in posture. His head sort of hung low, just sort of looking around. Currently, his head's facing away from you. As you're looking, you see Olam as he like readjusts himself, like pulls himself a little bit more behind the crate, and as he does that, the head just sort of snaps in his direction, or in like that general direction, just sort of sweeping in that direction. And as you're looking, you can see he's just sort of a regular Anzalonian man. The difference now that he's looking kind of in your direction is you can see just sort of a light greenish glow to his eyes. as he's just looking. You can hear him just.
I think, in this moment, I think Bina freezes up, like deer in the headlights, and I think this triggers her enthrall, and I would like this creature to also freeze up, like deer in the headlights, and not be able to move.
Okay.
It's not intentional on her part, I don't think, but I think this is a manifestation of how that would happen for her.
Okay. I'm gonna have you make a roll here.
Okay. Enthrall is an intellect spend. You grab a creature's attention. As long as you hold on to it, the creature can take no action other than to defend itself, even over multiple rounds. If the creature's attack, the effect ends.
Okay. Yeah. This is a roll. The difficulty's 3.
I'm so afraid of rolling dice. You said 3?
Yep. Difficulty is 3. You need a 9 or better.
Okay. We haven't picked where my power shifts go, so I'm not gonna worry about that right now.
Okay.
I am going to. So this is a spend.
Yes.
This ability.
Yeah.
How does that work for then spending more to put effort into it?
So the spend is to make the ability happen itself. I'm pretty sure that as far as like, are you talking about like in terms of your edge?
Yeah.
I think
Does it affect any of that? Because I think this is not normally one that you roll for, so I don't know how that would affect rolling it if it's already a spend. Does my edge eat that spend and then I have to dump 3 in normally, or because I don't think this is. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Sorry, everyone.
I'm pretty sure the edge will eat like the total point spend. Eats out of the total point spend, not out of like individual parts of it.
Not out of like effort.
Right, because like, yeah, no, it wouldn't do the ability and the effort separately.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it would take from the total spend.
All right, 9 or better. I'm already running pretty low. Not low on intellect. I'm just worried that it's gonna get worse today, and I haven't had a chance to heal or anything. Okay. Well, that was a 5, so it didn't even roll in my dice box.
Okay, so here's how this plays out basically. As you freeze up, just sort of where you are. You can see as his head just sort of slowly comes up and like meets your gaze, and he just sort of stops and just looks directly at you. And then as he's doing it, you can see as his head just sort of kind of shakes his head a little bit. And just for a moment, as you're just staring at this person, this creature, there's just every time seems to stand still. And then he just sort of slowly just turns his head and turns back down the ramp. And before long, you can see as he just completely disappears down the ramp.
What the fuck? Into all of...
It was like crouched there. I didn't see any of this. I was like, what was it?
Green glow. Did you say Anzalonian?
Mm-hmm.
Anzalonian guy. Was there any like other defining features besides like the glowing eye? Did he have like any sort of like uniform on? Or...
I mean, it looked just sort of like a standard, like a workman's uniform of some kind.
I don't know. He didn't say anything.
Is he gone? I poke my head up over, and then slowly, and then quicker, I run over and I do slam the close button for the.
At this point, like you can, as you're approaching the console, you can hear like movement outside, but as you look down the ramp, you don't see anything, and you hit the panel, and you see as the boarding ramp just sort of comes up, closing off the ship to the outside.
What did he do?
He just like stood there. I don't know. Did he seem to like see me?
You're not sure. You thought for a second that he absolutely was looking dead at you, but like then didn't react. Didn't seem to react at all.
Are there any like viewports on this ship other than the main cockpit, like windows?
There are. You've seen
Sort of
a
like a
few,
tech
yes.
view?
Not here, not on this level, not from the hold, but which is
Can
kind
we
of
go
where
up
you are.
to
Right?
the like the pilot's chair? Is there any like can I pull up visuals from
Yeah,
outside?
you can do that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so we'll say as you're making your way up there, we'll cut back to Mason and Peach, as you are just sort of entering. Mason, having had this memory as you like are looking at the pools of blood, in the research facility, you kind of glance around. Peach, you're looking around and you actually hear a beep coming from your terminal as you look down and you see the message from Bina that says there's something underneath the ship. Help.
Oh, it was there's something here, can't feel it, or something. Be safe.
Yeah.
Like...
Okay. Something is going on back there.
Whatever is going on here, whatever happened here, and then I see the fresh, the more, that blood over there is fresh. Fuck. I think we should get back to the ship.
Are there any is there anything like broken in there? Like, are there clear signs of struggle, or I mean, besides obviously the dead bodies?
Right. I mean, like you've seen as you were entering, there was some like chairs and a few things in like the sort of waiting room is what it seemed like that had been sort of overturned, as Mason was stepping in before he'd stepped on like an empty vial that had gone rolling away from areas further in the research center. So yeah, it looks like, it doesn't necessarily look like struggle per se, but it does look like something happened in this room. It looks too let's put it this way, it looks too random for it to look like the room was searched or ransacked, but it doesn't quite look as violent as you would expect like an actual altercation to be. I will say at this point, Peach, as you're taking a look around, you start to, as an Anzalonian, you have the ability to see at least somewhat into the infrared spectrum. You are starting to notice like just vague, very light heat traces near that locked door, the locked supply room door.
There's still someone here. Someone's here.
What?
There's someone behind that door.
I'm gonna go and put my ear up against it. Stay right there.
Yeah, you make your way over to the door and you kind of put your hands on it, just sort of listen. The thing that you're noting about this is that this door is a very well sealed door. Like, you're not hearing much of anything. Not even like, even if it was an empty room, you would be hearing at least something like on the other side. But right now you're just hearing. It's just sort of deadened. It seems like it's muffled. This door is probably, what you're gathering from that is that this door is designed to seal so that it preserves whatever's inside, basically.
Okay. I can't hear anything.
I wonder if they think we're part of whatever did this.
Did you see? How much were you able to see?
I can just tell that someone's still here. Someone's still alive. But that could be the same someone that did all of this. But I don't know why they would be hiding. Survivors, maybe?
Maybe. And I also recall that there was a camera that
There
was
was.
on, that
The
watching
light.
us.
The light isn't on anymore. And now that you're closer, as you're looking up at it, you can see that it has sustained some damage.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was someone for sure, you're right, because the camera was watching us as we came in. Someone who knows can still operate that. I'm trying to think. What kind of can I like look at the blood some more? Like, can I kind of tell what kind of blood it is?
I'm not sure that you'd be able to tell necessarily from looking. It's definitely like kind of sort of red, reddish crimson color, which tells you that it's probably most likely it's Keldro, Anzalonian, or human, possibly Terran. It's hard to say.
Does it look like the blood? Like, is there a trail to the door? Like, can we tell if it was like a wounded person
There
is
actually
behind the
don't
door?
appear. The thing that you're finding very weird is there don't appear to be trails anywhere. Like, not like, I mean, nothing was dragged. No bodies were dragged away or anything like that. There are places where you can see like splatter, but it's hard to say if it's like a trail or if it's just sort of from like incidental.
What do you think? Should we go back to the ship, or should we keep looking in here? There's most likely answers in here, but I'm getting a weird feeling about all this. About this right here.
Yeah, I think that it would, if something happened to our companions, I would feel terrible if we were just here poking around an abandoned lab. But if there are people behind that door that are hurt and that need help too, we don't know what state they're in, or if they have any answers for us.
Or they could be a threat.
That too.
I stand up straight, and in my best, once I got like the confidence from like bossing people around in the regulators, in my most firm, commanding voice, I will say, "Attention! Whoever is behind that door, show yourself. Speak now. We are armed."
Okay.
Mouthwash.
I am not going to make this a roll. However, I am going to offer you a GM intrusion. Actually, let's put it this way. Let's do this. You can take a GM intrusion, or you can make a roll.
What do you guys think? I'm down with either one. I honestly don't know. Intrusions
Get that XP.
Huh?
Do it. Get the XP.
Caitlin's all about the GM intrusions.
I love GM intrusions.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that.
I'm
Yeah.
biased. I'm
Okay.
heavily biased. Don't listen to me.
I know, it's fine. I'm
So
gonna do the intrusion.
you
They are
go ahead
fun.
and gain 1 XP, and you can give the other one to probably the one that makes sense the most is Peach here. But
Peach.
yeah.
Take it.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet.
Okay, so as you're standing there at the door, you kind of step back, and as you say, "We're armed," and you just kind of like look at Peach and just shrug. And as you're saying that, Peach, he's looking away from the door, like looking at you. You watch as the lock indicator suddenly shifts to green as the door slides open, and there's a shot fired from inside. I need you to make a speed defense roll.
I'm so sorry.
I will, in fact, do that.
Okay,
This is a surprise, so I can't even help him, can I?
probably not. This is all happening like
Are
very
you trained
quickly.
in defense as well? You can do an encouragement.
No, but you can do encouragement in general with defense tasks.
Mhm.
So I mean,
It's defense and attack actions, and then anything you're trained in.
but I think
Well,
because it's random, like I wouldn't have time.
Okay, so the speed
If the
defense
GM
roll.
would let you, you
the-
could be like, "Look out!" if you see.
The defense roll on this is a speed defense roll of 4.
Oh. Okay. Can I use my Does dexterity does my dexterity from my shifts? Can I use that?
Yes.
Power shift. I mean, sorry.
Yes.
Dexterity. So I have 2 power shifts in dexterity.
Okay, that brings it down to a 2.
I'm safe. I feel good with that. I feel good with
Okay.
that. So 6, right? 6 or better.
Yes, 6
Okay.
or better.
All right. Let's see. Let's see what happens. I brought this upon.
Oh, kitty.
I brought this upon myself.
Aura asset.
I don't know what that is.
What does it look like?
It's a circle. It's that circle.
Oh, is it the Cypher symbol? That's a natural 20, my dude.
So
The major effect, baby!
Yeah. So you have a major effect here.
Oh goodness. Okay.
So basically, here's what happens. The door just sort of slides up, and immediately shots are fired from inside. You just dive out of the way, and so you also have a major effect here that you can sort of, yeah.
It's just can
Anything,
it be, how
yeah.
ridiculous can we get here?
We can get pretty ridiculous.
Well, I'll
I mean, just
dive
throw
out of the-
things out, Lucas will tell you if it works or
Yeah,
not.
pretty much.
True.
crafty.
I
Feels
dive
funny.
out of the way, and I'm going to, if I can, like, make myself a the shot. So if I make myself more of a shield for Peach.
Sure. Yeah.
And when I pulled all my stuff out of the locker, did I have everything on me? Like, does that include my actual my pistol?
You actually would not have found your pistol in there.
Ooh, okay. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna provide cover. No,
Okay,
yeah,
so
I'm
like
gonna-
basically
Mhm.
you dodge out of the way and pull Peach to the side,
Right.
just sort of like as the shots fire off into the room, and from inside you hear, "That's close enough." What do you want?
Okay. Well, are you hurt?
Why do you want to know?
Sorry. I thought we weren't really sure if you were a threat or not. So
You just see a few more shots fired from inside. It's like, does that answer your question?
yes.
What do you want?
We want to know what happened here.
You're okay. You're amongst friends.
There's just a moment, sort of as a beat past. You actually hear just like you can't quite make out what they're saying, but you hear several voices, like whispered voices from inside the room. You can't hear what we can't quite make out what they're saying, but you can hear them, and you just hear, okay, fine, shh, fine, and you just hear, all right, here's what I need you to do. Step out to the middle of the room. Step back 20 feet from the door. If you do that, I will not fire.
All right, Peach, will you stand behind me? We'll do this, I guess. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna put my hand, and we're gonna do the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take a step back, and I'm just. Can I see it all? Like, can we see into the doorway now that it's open? and
No,
see
because
it
basically,
all?
in order to get out of this, you had to Mason had to pull you up against the wall, basically, like the same wall that the door is on. That's basically the only cover that you had anywhere close by. So he pushed you out of the way of the door and pushed both of you up against the wall while the shots came out. So you can't really see from this angle. But so you move. Okay. So Mason, you very slowly kind of move away from the wall and into the sort of middle of the room. And as you do, you kind of glance back and you can see a relatively young-looking man. Looks mostly human, but there's sort of his eyes are sort of like that. You can see that his eyes are orange, and his skin has sort of like some sort of marbling along it that is indicative of probably Keldro, as he is standing there holding an assault rifle. Seems to be dressed in some form of some sort of military uniform, although it actually, and even on it you can actually see a silver break insignia on it, as he's just sort of standing there holding the rifle at the ready but not pointed directly at you. You can see several other people in the supply room behind him, some of whom are also wearing uniforms with a silver break insignia on it. Most of them look to be lab technicians, although there are a few people inside who aren't wearing any kind of insignia of any kind. So they look mostly civilian. As you kind of glance past him, you can see a man kind of dressed in like a workman's coveralls, sort of kind of up in a corner with his arms sort of held out to either side, and just from around his hip level, you can see a small face kind of peeking out from behind him. As you see the uniformed man with the gun just sort of says, "Okay." He says, look at me, let me see your eyes." Yeah. He kind of looks at you both and says, "I don't recognize you. You're not from here."
Definitely not.
You can see as he doesn't fully relax, but you can see he seems almost relieved. As his posture slightly changes. He says, he kind of glances into the room with him. He kind of looks out and says, "All right, come in, quick."
Well, what do you think? We have, there's others of us here.
Look, right now, wherever they are, they're probably in better shape than you are right now. Get inside. You don't know when they'll be back.
All right.
Yeah, we'll come. I'll go in.
Okay.
I'll go in.
Are they just like afraid? Like what? Like
Oh,
what
yeah.
if there's any of them wounded? Like what are they?
You see one person also wearing a military uniform who seems to be, who's like sitting on a crate. Other than the man with the gun, she's the closest person to you. An Enzalonian woman who is wearing the same uniform that he is, holding a sidearm. You can see that the arm that isn't holding the weapon is bandaged. Looks like she was in the process of actually bandaging it. And she's currently holding a sidearm, like kind of pointed towards both of you. As you make your way inside, he steps out of the way and sort of like looks outside, kind of glances around, and closes the door behind you as you step in. And you can see the lock indicator goes on again. He says, for the first time, he seems to relax as soon as that door closes and locks. He seems to relax a little bit. He says, "Sorry about shooting at you. It's been a rough week."
No harm done.
He nods. He says, I'm a second lieutenant, Jareth Decker, in charge of corporate security, in charge of the colony. Well, in charge now, that is. Yeah.
I'm gonna reach out and shake his hand, like a warm smile.
Mm-hmm. He kind of starts for a moment, but doesn't pull away, and just sort of, yeah. Sorry, you. I thought you were more of those things. How did you get past him?
Those things.
Those things you say.
The uniformed woman speaks up at this point. She having set down the sidearm and like is going back to bandaging herself. She looks up. She says, "We call them the warped. We don't know what they are, but it's accurate." And Decker looks at you and says, "Yeah, but the thing is, they're swarming the colony. They have been for days. How did you get through them? Are they?"
You are the first we've seen of anything here, besides our friends, which are back.
He kind of glances at the woman and says, "Something must have drawn him away." We're gonna take that moment to cut back to Olam and Bina on the ship. As you are just now reaching the cockpit, you quickly reach over to the console and pull up like the exterior displays. It takes you a second, but to like locate him, but you actually do see the Anzalonian man as he's just sort of like slowly, just sort of seems to be aimlessly walking around the landing platform.
Are glowing green eyes a side effect of any like drug addiction that I know of?
No.
Or anything?
I don't think so. No. you're just sort of watching him now, kind of looking over Bina's shoulder at the display, and you can see as he just sort of doesn't appear to be doing anything, just sort of aimlessly wandering around. Every once in a while, like the head will snap in one direction as he just looks at something, and then it will just slowly like go back to as he just keeps stalking around the platform. At one point, as you're watching, you actually see another individual sort of behaving very similarly. This one human, as she walks into the landing platform. Similar sort of posture and movements as the two of them kind of glance towards each other but don't seem to acknowledge each other, just sort of moving about. At which point the two of them just sort of slowly start moving back towards the exit and disappear into the hallway that, like the corridor that runs around the exterior of this entire building.
Yes. Well, I would like to get the boot off of the engine.
That's what I was gonna say. I think even more so we should be
Yeah, okay.
that quickly. Yeah.
We're gonna go back down into the engine room.
Okay.
Did you say what they were wearing? Did they have uniforms or anything? The two that we saw?
He didn't. He appeared to be wearing like kind of like what looked like maintenance coveralls, basically like a maintenance jumpsuit. It might not have been maintenance, but it's of the type that maintenance workers often use.
Yeah.
She seemed to be wearing like a longer coat, maybe like a lab technician's coat. It was hard to tell from the external displays. It was difficult to tell, but yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. We. I say, have you heard back from Peach and Mason?
I pull up my terminal.
I guess I'm in the group chat too.
Yeah.
I check. I ask and then I immediately check my own too.
Yeah. As far as
The
I'm
both of
aware,
us immediately snap down and look.
Yeah.
We're like, no.
I don't think that they have had a chance to respond yet because too many things
They
happen.
did get
So
fired upon,
yeah.
so I don't blame
So
them.
as you look down, hoping that you're going to see some response from them, you don't see anything.
Okay. Bina's gonna hope that the worst has not fallen upon our new friends, because allies are great when you're stranded on a planet where there are maybe space zombies. So she's gonna put in the group chat, saw another, they went towards the exit, and then she said that, and then just to keep them posted on what we know, because
Okay.
we have eyes out here right now, and
I
hopefully they're okay, but they don't have eyes out here, so.
also tell them that we've closed and sealed the ramp to let us know if they're getting close.
Okay.
They both have the ability to open from their
That's true.
terminals.
Yeah,
I
from
did
their
make sure
terminals they
that
can open
last
them,
time.
Bleh.
Yeah.
Um,
So they, but yeah, also good to know. That
I told them it's closed at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sure. So, are you guys heading back to the engine room then? Is that what I understood? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Got to deboot.
So as you as you make your way
Are
back to
there-
the engine, yeah.
I was gonna say, down in the engine room, is there any way I could bring up a display of the outside just so we can keep an eye
Yeah,
outside?
I'd say from the
Okay.
bridge it would have been very easy for you to like route one of the displays.
Send one down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Route
Yeah.
one of the displays towards like
Cool.
a maintenance console or something.
I just want to have an eye out. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
Yeah, that's easy enough to do. In fact, actually, honestly, you could probably do it even just to your own terminal.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm figuring like anything that's kind of just like general easy things to move around are probably things that you could probably manage.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So
Okay.
you sit down and with sort of renewed enthusiasm start just sort of focusing. And so I'm going to actually have you do that roll for removing the boot.
Yes. So what we talked about earlier, can I use from when I was talking to Olam earlier about the way that the boot works and interacts with the engine and what I found out, because that roll ended up being successful in the end, even though it was just barely. Can I enlist Olam's help as an asset
Yes.
with my encouragement? 'Cause
Yeah.
I know things about engines. Okay.
Right. So you basically what you're doing right now is you're effectively giving him training, essentially like the
Means to be
equivalent of
my fifth and sixth hands.
right.
Whoa.
So basically, as Bina starts talking you through what she needs you to do, like basically like asking you to hand her stuff and just sort of like working quickly to remove this boot. At one point, you find you're sort of unable to like you're holding the light is sort of impeding your ability to help her. At which point you sort of set it down, as you do, Bina, you're about to turn to tell him to put the light back, and as you do, all of a sudden a source of light just sort of comes from somewhere. You're not really sure where at first. As you kind of look around, you look at your hand, and the tool in your hand is currently glowing brightly.
Useful, but strange. Not the weirdest thing I've seen today.
Are you doing that? It's not a tool that normally glows,
Nope.
is it? No, it isn't. Okay. What does it look? What is it like? Bright white light?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like it's not like super bright, but it's sort of like it's basically equivalent to the light that you were holding, less directional, but yeah.
Cool.
I guess I've been replaced.
No, I need your hands too.
I know.
Come on.
Here's the. I hated something else.
Okay, so go ahead, and this will be probably an intellect roll, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is an intellect roll. The difficulty on that is going to be 4.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Okay. So I have my asset from Olim.
Mm-hmm.
I have my backstory training as a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Does this have anything to do with perception? My visual acuity of this situation?
Yeah, I'd say that would come into play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trained in tasks that involve sight.
So you're currently at difficulty 1.
I'm still nervous. This is important, so I'm just gonna spend 2 intellect with my 1 edge and just do it.
Okay, so great. So yeah, you with Olim's help just sort of like handing you stuff, and every once in a while just sort of holding parts out of the way as you like maneuver in between them with the tools. You after a moment you hear sort of a rapid beeping coming from the boot, and then just a click, and the beep just sort of dies down to sort of like a and you can feel like as the boot kind of comes loose as it disengages from the drive.
Olim, meet boot. And she's gonna hand it to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Hi.
and she's gonna kind of just like double check, make sure it's all copacetic in there now that the boot's been moved. And
Yeah, sounds good. At this point, Olim, you are feeling. This is really weird. Like, you're glad that the boot is removed, but you wouldn't necessarily say that you're excited about it. And yet you feel a sense of excitement and like pride that you are certain is not your own.
probably some familiarity too.
Yeah.
Like familiar with the thing you've definitely never done before.
I set the boot down, and then I suddenly double back and look at it with my eyes narrowed, like I've seen it before somewhere, and then like continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you turn, you and turn back to Bina, you can see the same feelings that you're having reflected on her face strongly.
We got it.
Yeah, we did. Good job.
She's gonna hold up 2 right hands.
I do. Oh, how does this? I try to high five.
Yeah.
All right.
Speed roll.
As that is happening, Bina, I'm gonna offer you a GM intrusion.
I want it. I'll take it.
Okay. So go ahead and take an XP.
Here when you offer it to her.
Listen,
And
I know
I'll
it's
give
an
the
easy
other-
sell when I hand it to Caitlin. Okay. When I offer it to Caitlin, it's an easy
I
sell.
love it. I love him. I'm gonna give the other one to Ola because he helped me take the boot off, and also I made him feel my emotions on accident. So
Thank you.
So as you're smiling and celebrating, you start kind of turning to make your way out of the engine room, and suddenly all the lights just go dark, and you can hear like the ambient hum of power that was going through the ship just.
Uh-oh.
You're plunged into darkness, and as you're standing there, you're just completely lost, just like in complete darkness.
as the light goes out, when Bina flinches at it, her little like her like glow reaction that she has. So she was just like, oh god, okay. So she's got some glowing coming from her cheeks and her antennas a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just see the little points of bioluminescence in the void, little Bina's little vague facial features.
Yeah, I think you can like they're kind of it's more like diffused in her face, where and then it's like points probably at the end
Yeah.
of her antennas. But yeah, so she's got a little bit of like going. You can see a little bit in other parts of her body, but it's mostly in her face. She's like, okay, that wasn't
we-
supposed to happen.
Oh, did we forget to plug something back in? I'm trying to fumble to find a light on my wrist terminal or anywhere, like a personal flashlight.
Oof. I think on her way back, she's gonna walk back to the engine, and I think she's gonna like feel along the wall as she goes, just to kind of like make sure. And I think where her hand has been, it leaves a trail of light behind it. And
Yeah.
she's like trying to like get back. She's like, okay, that's new, helpful, but new. And I think she's gonna just kind of keep going and make a stripe around the entire room to give us some light. And
Yeah.
then she's gonna check out the engine
And you
see
like
what happens.
it does trail, but you can see as it the trail sort of fades after a certain
Fades at the end,
distance.
yeah.
And like it sort of keeps to a relatively like localized area, probably no more than
Yes.
about 5 feet. Like it keeps going, but it just like whenever you trace new areas, it keeps going, but it eventually fades, except for within that 5 foot sort of space.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she'll swipe it back where the engine is, and then we'll address that later. And she's gonna walk back into the engine.
Okay. At this point, we are going to cut back to Mason and Peach. Having just been informed that you should have been running into something called the Warped, Decker just sort of looks down at his weapon. He says, "Did you see anything weird out there? Anything that might have drawn them off somehow or something?"
Everything was just abandoned. What did you say about our eyes?
What? Oh, just the warps. They're... He kind of looks around the room and then lowers his voice as he leans in closer. He says, there are people. They are the colonists that were here. A little over a week ago, some of them started acting weird, being sent to medical, and they were exhibiting sort of regular the symptoms of heat exhaustion, and then but it never got any better, and the first one of them died, and then about an hour later he was walking around and his eyes were glowing green. Pretty soon others started exhibiting the same symptoms, some of them turning without dying first. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know where it came from. We didn't find any kind of contagion, nothing. It just started happening.
What is the purpose of this colony? Has Silverbreak been doing anything to people here?
He kind of straightens up. He sort of stiffens for a moment. He says, I'm sorry, that's proprietary inform." He kind of glances to the other uniformed woman as she just sort of says, "It doesn't really matter if we're dead, does it?" He says, Yeah. You're right. It's mostly a work colony, primarily for making this world habitable at some point in the future. But obviously, as you can tell, there's a research facility here, and so Silverbreak's interests in this colony were primarily focused in this building, researching something. I don't know. I wasn't cleared for that. I mean, my CO was, but I didn't know. It was pretty much kept on a strictly need to know basis. But primarily it was a civilian work colony. I don't know. What are you thinking that there might be something in the lab that caused all this, or?
I don't think collateral damage is really uncommon for Silverbreak. So.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But we just came in here. Maybe there's something that we can offer. Does anyone look injured? I think that Peach would have some training in medicine just because of her kind of background and
Sure.
and her family. So can we were talking about skills earlier. I think that's one that she would have. Is that can I help like dress any wounds or anything? I don't want to just come in here and demand information and not help them in any way.
As you ask that, he glances around and he says, "Well, I mean, Coleman over there got a bit of a scrape, but otherwise we all pretty much got in here okay. Everybody's just a little bit shaken, minor scrapes and bruises, but yeah." As he indicates the other uniformed woman, he says, "Sorry, this is Private First Class Sonia Coleman. She's well, I guess she's my second in command right now."
Sonia.
I'm gonna check my space IM.
Yeah, as you get another message that comes in at this point. As you glance down, you see the update from Bina and Olim, saying that they had seen another one and that it had left and that they'd left and they were somewhere out there. But
Okay, can I send a little message through?
okay,
Found survivors. Basically the Cliff Notes version
Yeah.
of what we got explained
Sure,
about
sure.
these things. Yeah.
okay.
Like avoid funky-eyed creatures.
Yeah, basically what you're seeing now on the messaging is pretty much tracking with what Decker has told you. And as you are sitting there, Decker is continuing to speak. He says, We've been trapped down here. It's standard procedure when a colony goes dark for a distress beacon to be sent out. The problem is our long-range transmitter got knocked out. I'm not sure if you saw it on the way in, but we were. He kind of glances over to the men in sort of the maintenance coveralls who was against the wall with the little girl, who is now like sitting in his lap as he's sort of relaxed and he's just sort of talking to her. He says, Brewer over there was on his way to go fix the relay, but we ran across a whole bunch of those the warped and had to take shelter in here. Just barely got in time, and actually some of us didn't make it in.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is that there's not really anything that we can do about them right now, but we need that long-range transmitter to get back online, or else Silverbreak's not going to know what happened here, and they can't send any sort of relief or reinforcements to do anything about this. And the other thing is that if we don't get that long-range transmitter reinstated, then the automated docking protocols will continue taking over, and taking off will be impossible. So, sorry to tell you, but any ship that you came in on is effectively grounded until we get that thing fixed.
Oh, okay. That seems like a job for Bina.
At this point, Coleman sort of like stands kind of wincing a little bit, holding her arm. She says, if it's true what you're saying, that those things are not currently in the colony, that they were drawn off, then there's no better time than right now to push and get that thing fixed.
We need to make a move now before they come back.
Yeah. You can see some of the other folks in the room are sort of listening in, and you see the man in the maintenance work, Brewer, looks up and he says, "Whoa, wait! No, we can't go out there. Who knows when those things will be back?" Somebody else, another woman in the room, just sort of says, "If we don't go, then what are we gonna do? Just stay in here forever?" He says, better than being out there with those things. And he kind of like glances over to the little girl who just like isn't currently like nestled up against his chest. At which like then they start like arguing basically, and Coleman is looking at between them and Decker as he's just sitting there. He says, He's just kind of running his hand through his hair, just sort of looking around the room, seemingly like disengaging from this whole situation as he's just like, the read that you're getting on him, having also served in a vaguely militaristic organization, is that this guy was never intended for command. This guy got thrust into this position right now.
Really?
And you can see that he's straining. You can see the dark bags under his eyes as he's like just sort of sitting there, and you've seen it before, but you're starting to see that kind of like that panic set in, like an I don't know what to do, that just desperation of not knowing how to handle the situation. And you can see as you're thinking, as soon as you have this thought, his other hand comes up to his temple as he's just
Attention, everyone here.
Everybody sort of quiets down gradually as like the tail ends of arguments just sort of start to trail off. They kind of look to you.
I know that this situation is dire, and it's not good, it's not pretty. But we're not going to be sitting ducks here. To hell with that. Am I right? We want to get out of here. If fixing it is what we need to do, and it's Brewer, right? Brewer,
Yeah.
Brewer, you're the maintenance?
He looks around and says, yeah, closest thing that passes to it in this group.
All right, you're the one for the job. We will provide cover.
This is gonna be a roll, and if I remember correctly, you have an inability.
I do. Wait. Oh, you're right. That's even better.
I give you encouragement. I'm trained in pleasant social interactions.
Oh.
Is this a pleasant social interaction?
We'll say that, all circumstances considered, yes, we'll say it is, if you want to help him out. You can see basically like from his speaking.
Okay, yeah, I'll spend an intellect point and I'll.
Okay, from his speaking, as you're sort of gauging reactions to like his.
Yes, thank you, Caitlin.
You're sort of gauging reactions to his words, and it seems like people are looking pretty unconvinced at the moment. They're like looking at him with that very clear look of like, who the hell is this guy? So, what are you doing?
Okay. I am going to kind of take a look and kind of try to get a read on kind of the people and I don't know how I can help. I don't want to just like make my own speech, but I'm just gonna turn to everybody and I'm just gonna say, this guy saved my life when we were crashing on a ship. He knows what he is doing. He will protect you. All we gotta do is listen to each other.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have you make a roll. This is gonna be an intellect roll. The difficulty is gonna be 4, but you can use. It's already down 1 step because you have Peach as an asset in this situation, so it's down to a difficulty 3.
I just gave him a letter of recommendation.
That's perfect. Good, because
Endorsement.
Yeah.
I'm a charismatic person.
So the difficulty. So basically, it's still a difficulty 4 because you have an inability.
Yes.
You basically canceled your inability.
Yes, you canceled the inability here.
And this was what can I do? Anything
It's okay.
I can
We're getting
do
used to our specialties still.
to bring it down a tad, or not.
Well, you can spend a level of effort. You can.
I'll do that.
Okay.
I don't have any other. I don't have inspiring speeches. That's really not my character.
Right. Yeah.
And that would be towards intellect.
Yes.
This is okay.
So you don't have an edge in intellect?
I don't.
Right? Okay, so it's a 3-point spend from your intellect.
I'll do it.
I feel like Peach is just nodding really encouragingly, like.
Huh?
Yeah.
Look at this guy, huh? He's got a fedora.
It's like I just think of that picture of Will Smith and
Will
Jada
Smith.
Pinkett Smith when Will Smith's like, yeah.
Oh, 9 or better.
Yes,
what
with
is
the
that
level
move?
of it is now 9 or better.
Okay.
You got this. You got it.
Like more than half the numbers.
16.
Nice. Okay.
Woo!
Whew.
Okay.
All right. So,
Okay, that's good.
there's a moment as everybody just sort of glances around at each other, and Brewer kind of looks at the little girl, and he kind of squeezes her hand as he takes her off of his lap and sets her on the floor, and just kind of smiles at her and squeezes her hand. He says, "All right, you take me to that transmitter. I'll get her running."
All right, someone give me a gun.
Decker reaches back to like a back holster and pulls out a sidearm and hands it to you.
Thank you.
He nods. Says, he kind of looks
Roll
you up and
16,
down.
get gun.
Yeah, he looks you up and down. He says, "You have some military training. I can see it in your stance."
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had been in that regulators. A long time ago.
Says, "Well, a lot of people say a lot of shit about the regulators, but I'll be honest with you. Glad to have you here." All right, people, you heard him. We're gonna do this quick. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it quietly. He says, "I think it's probably best that not everybody go." As you look around the room, there's probably about he's right. There's probably about 25 people in this room. Like he says, only necessary personnel. Says, you said you have a ship? Is in the shuttle port?
Yes.
Says, all right, Coleman, I want you to lead the rest of the civilians to the shuttle port. We're gonna get on that ship, and we are gonna get out of here.
I'm going to send a little quick message then, also, saying that.
Okay.
That there's people heading that way that are,
Yeah. Coleman glances to everybody in the room and nods and looks over at Decker, and she smiles. She says, "You got this." She says, "I keep telling you, you got this." Quietly, so that basically only the two of you hear it. And he smiles at her and nods. Says, "All right, everybody." Says, "You're all gonna go with Coleman. She's gonna take you to the shuttle port. You're gonna get there. There will be people there ready to evac us. You will be safe there until we get that transmitter up and running. Brewer, you're with us." He nods and he leans down and says a few words to the little girl, who's just sort of looking at him, nods, and she's kind of wiping just sort of tears out of her eyes, and he says, "Okay," and she just nods just kind of up at him as he walks her over to Coleman, who just sort of smiles and takes her hand. She says, "Come on, we're gonna go for a little walk, okay?" As everybody the next few minutes are taken up as everybody starts organizing on the ship. Olim, you receive the message from Mason.
Oh.
That message not only contains a warning, but it also contains that it also I'm assuming you sort of briefed him on the situation. So
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I want to remind him that we did see a few of these things walking around, so they are not completely correct in their belief that something has drawn them away.
Okay.
I type on my wristwatch.
Yeah.
If they think something got away, maybe it was the gigantic ship that just crashed into the planet. That we didn't do, but we're on for a little while.
But I wonder what kind of thing would be drawn to that, though.
That was
do
a
they
loud
want?
noise.
Fair enough.
Big energy source?
Anyway,
He goes
we
back.
gotta...
He goes back into. If there are people coming, I need the power on the ship so we can open the door for them. So she's gonna
That is true.
Are
How can I help?
lights off? Is the engine down, or is full power lost on the ship?
It's a full power loss, and
Okay, I need to get this engine back
Yeah.
on then right now.
yeah. So far, you've found no reason for it. There is nothing. There's no reason that the power on the ship should have gone out like it did.
Shit.
So far, as you're just sort of basically, I'm imagining you just sort of underneath the engine, just sort of messing with the power systems, just sort of pulling stuff
Wiggling
out.
things.
Yeah. So as we'll cut really quickly back over to Mason and Peach.
Oh, briefly.
Yes.
Can I take an action to do a recovery roll? Is that just 1d6
Yeah.
or is that?
Yeah, it's 1d6, and I believe you add your tier to it as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted to do. I've just been spending a lot of intellect points, and I
Yeah.
think I'm going to need them soon.
Sounds good.
That's
So
clever.
Mason and Peach, you're sort of
I
watching.
need everyone to know I rolled a 1.
Oh,
so
no.
Everyone to be aware of that.
Well, you got 2 intellect points back.
I
So,
do. That's fine. I just
Uh,
need to be aware of this.
literally the least amount you could have gotten back. I'm proud of you.
It's fine. It's 2. That's a full spend.
All right. So, Mason and Peach, you're watching as they sort of start getting themselves organized. And before long, Decker's looking at the door. He says, "All right, everybody ready? You all know what to do?" Everybody kind of nods. He says, he looks at you. "All right, then." And he unlocks the door. The door hisses open. And that is where we're going to go to break.
Oh no! Wow, it's that time already?
It is.
Oh
I know.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, I was going to say we're a little bit late, but we actually started late, so we're actually exactly on time for our break.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So, everybody, we will be back in about 10 minutes or so. I promise it won't be 20 like it was last time, because this time I pulled up my notes ahead of time. So, I am prepared. All right, so we will be back in about 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We will return. All right, see you in a
See you
bit.
soon.
And we are back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back from break. So, when we left off, there was sort of a plan starting to take shape as more answers were forthcoming about the colony. As Peach and Mason found some survivors and learned a little bit about what happened to the colony, with several of their number becoming creatures they referred to as the Warped, started sort of seeming to this effect seeming to spread through the colony and affecting many of the colonists. They were getting ready to repair their long-range transmitter to send an emergency broadcast to Silverbreak for potential rescue. But ended up getting pinned down in the supply closet in the research center, which is where Peach and Mason found them. Now, several of the group of survivors are making their way to the vessel on which Bina and Olim are currently frantically trying to restore power so that they can let people in, while Peach and Mason, as well as second lieutenant or first lieutenant? It's in my notes, which are not currently in front of me. Second, yeah.
Second.
I think I said second lieutenant. Yeah, second lieutenant Jareth Decker, who is leading them as well as the maintenance worker, a man who has only been introduced as Brewer.
Leading us.
Yeah, right, leading to the long-range beacon to repair it, because as they learned, without that beacon being repaired, the auto docking sequence that led them safely to land in this colony will also prevent them from taking off. So that's where we come to as the door to the supply closet opens. You see as Coleman, Private Coleman, like moves quickly across the entrance area of the research center as she goes over to one of the windows. As she glances out, and she looks around and says, "All right, it's clear." And Decker says, "All right, you know what to do? Go ahead." And she turns back to everybody else and she says, "All right, civilians, follow me. Quick and quiet. Here we go." As they make their way out the same entrance that you all came in. As they're making their way that way, Decker turns to the two of you. He says, "All right, this way." And he indicates his head the other direction, in towards the research center. So, you make your way out that way. In the meantime, Bina and Olim on the ship.
Bina is like tugging on her antennas. She's like, I don't know what it is.
Is there some kind of auxiliary power we can turn on just to get the door open? It doesn't have
Is
to be
there
the engine running.
Is there a manual? Is there like a manual override to a door that you can like unlock something and manually push the door
Yes,
down?
there
in case
there
you
is
ever see?
almost always a manual override for most doors on board a ship.
Oh, I think I need you to go up, and it's to the right and like up really high. I think on this model of ship, you gotta open the hatch and there's a way to manually override it. I'm gonna keep working down here. You go up there just in case, okay?
Okay. Will we be able to close it if I open it that way?
I don't know, but we need to get them inside. So worst case scenario, we can barricade. There's crates
Okay.
up there.
All right.
We need to get them inside.
Yeah.
She's gonna go back into
Yeah.
into the
Okay.
Yeah, she just like slides herself back under the engine and starts like messing with stuff.
Man, I can picture this like really fast moving little like slightly illuminated face down. Just like, all right.
And she's very gestury, and it's all four
Yeah.
arms gesture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By this point, Henry, I will say that Olim has probably found his his lamp from before.
Cool.
So
okay.
like you have that with you now.
Nice. So I just have that small light source, and then I still with one hand on the wall, I travel towards the boarding ramp.
Okay. You make your way over towards where the boarding ramp is and start kind of like feeling your way around the edges of the actual hatch as you start just kind of like feeling around. It actually doesn't take you long before you find a removable panel from the bulkhead that you kind of like you can get your fingers under, and you just basically like pop it out. And inside you can see what is essentially just like a ratchet, essentially, like a ratchet lever that you basically can just keep pulling, and it'll essentially pump the door open.
Oh, cool. All right. I hold my light in my teeth and start doing that.
All right, sounds good. So you start pulling and pulling. Actually, so the surprising thing is how relatively easily it moves, which like to you in your mind, like you were expecting, that it was gonna be like a hard pull, but to be honest, it moves like it was. It moves like it hasn't aged, which kind of is you're starting to get the impression, not just from this, but also your experience on the ship so far, that this ship is pretty new.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Everything's just
fresh
sort
out
of
of the
seems to
factory.
be working pretty seamlessly. It doesn't have like the telltale like old creaks, and like as the door whooshes open, you don't hear the kind of like squealing of like mechanisms as they move. Everything's pretty new on this ship. And as you continue pumping, you're starting to get like the hatch starts opening, and you get it to about like 3 or so feet open. At the point, then that's where like the emergency stop sort of kicks in. These manual overrides are not meant to open the door the whole way. So,
Is this when everything's going smoothly? Is this hatch open, and there's also another ramp that goes down to the ground at this location, or is this a different place? A different opening.
No, there is a ramp too, but like that would probably have its own manual override as well.
How far to the ground from here without the ramp?
I'd say it's probably no more than about 5 feet or so.
Okay. As soon as the door's open, I try to look for a way to get the ramp open too.
Okay, that one's easy enough to find because that one you don't even have to go to a panel. You don't even have to pull like the bulkhead open to do that. Like there's literally just an emergency release switch, basically like a manual
Great.
release.
Just
Yeah, and you can hear as it sort of like clatters and clanks its way down, being caught on whatever manual mechanisms are there to keep it from just sort of right.
Yeah.
And it opens just enough for you to be able to see out. You can open it further if you want, but right now, kind of that's where you stop.
Oh, can I lower it enough so that I can see like level with the doors to the corridor that surrounds the landing platform?
Yeah.
Where we've landed,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I want to do that, but I guess not all the way quite to the ground yet.
Okay, yeah, you can look out. Seems deserted. You don't hear anything either.
Okay, I stay posted there and keep peeking out and
Okay.
focusing my perception out onto the landing platform.
Okay. In the meantime, we're gonna go back to Peach and Mason. Decker leads you through the research facility, past a bunch of doors that are still seem to be in working order, although most of them don't open as you pass. And you can see through windows into like more contained research areas. And as you're making your way past, as you start moving past one of the doors, clearly one of the labs. This is one that, as you're walking past it, this one does not have any sort of like view inside of it, and you can see it says Lab 23B, and it says Security Clearance 5. What's interesting to you as you both pass this, with Decker and Brewer ahead of you, just sort of making their way like across this section of the facility. Both of you, as you're walking past it, just sort of immediately sort of turn to look at it, because there's something. All of you, or both of you, feel some sort of pull from inside, like almost like something trying to get your attention as you both turn and look at the sealed door.
Do I see any sign of movement inside? Do I see any heat signatures?
No, you don't see any traces of any sort of heat.
You feel that too?
Yeah. Hey, Decker.
He stops, kind of like he's like looking into the next room, and he looks with kind of with his back up against the wall, looking in. Says, "Yeah."
You wouldn't have had the clearance to know what's in there, would you?
No, way above my pay grade. Says, "Why?" And he's now looking at the door, kind of curiously as well, looking between you and the door.
Can I? So the pull, is it more of just? Is there a negative feeling, or is it just like what's
no,
the?
it really just feels like. It feels like like that thing where like if you're looking in one direction and you see movement out of the corner of your eye, and you just sort of immediately like reflexively you look. It's more like that. Only there's nothing as far as you can see drawing your attention.
Is it locked?
You walk up to it, and you kind of activate the control panel, and it kind of winks for a second, and then it blinks red, and it just says access denied. Both of you are now kind of just staring at this thing, and Peach, you're starting to feel a sensation now, being closer to the door, that you don't know how to explain it, but it's weirdly familiar, like something that's coming back to you from a half-remembered dream.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if I could sense any kind of like, I don't know, something that's happened here, or like something that like have I seen this place before in one of these people's memory? Like I'm trying to see if I can gain access to it somehow through.
I'll tell you what. If you spend 3 points from your intellect pool, I'll give you something.
Yeah. Does my edge reduce that by 1?
Yeah. Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll spend 2 points intellect.
Okay.
What could go wrong?
So you sort of, at this moment, as you sort of reach out, sort of searching your memories, you start pulling up memories that aren't yours. The only other time you've had this experience was just before entering the bridge on the crashing ship earlier today. And this is not a memory of one of your companions either. As you're experiencing it, you look down at a keypad, as sort of vaguely feathered hands that are sort of like moving across the keypad. It clicks in your memory that you recall seeing in that room with the survivors a Socorro woman, a member of an avian species of the Commonwealth, and you see as her hands sort of fly across the keypad, which then blinks in the same way that it just did for you, and only this time it flashes green. It says access granted as the very same door that you're standing in front of opens. She steps inside, and you kind of seeing it from her perspective, stepping into the room, on the other side of which there is just sort of this simple looking office. She takes a seat at what is clearly her desk as she begins shuffling some papers around. You sort of flash through a whole series of sort of dizzying memories and montages, but at one point you stop because it's a particularly strong memory tinged with anxiety for her. Anxiety and confusion. As you see several of the research personnel who are sort of standing around talking, saying, you catch a snippet of that conversation saying, I mean, I don't know why they're ordering containment down, but that's just what they said we were doing. They want to test to see if there's any sort of spillover effect. As one of the other researchers nods and says, well, I mean, it hasn't been harmful to us so far, so we'll see. It's a good way of testing the results. At which point they both kind of glance over and they see your vision suddenly is taken up by the desk in front of you, as the person whose memory you're looking through seems to have quickly averted her gaze. She kind of glances up as they are already making their way back into the labs, and as the door into the labs themselves opens, you can see just beyond them that the door on the other side of that chamber is also open into a room where there is just sort of this. It looks like a room, the inside of which are just panels, a lot of like panels made of some material that you can't identify just at a glance. But in the center of that room, there is an object, a black-blue sphere that's just sort of sent in the center of the room. And the most notable thing about that sphere is that it seems to be hovering in the center of the room unsupported before the door on the other side closes. And the door between like to the office closes, and you come out of that memory just sort of standing there, just staring at the doorway.
Looks like you just saw something.
Yeah, I think I saw where some of this started.
Hey, you glance over and you see Decker.
Yeah,
says, we've got to move.
Let's keep going, Mason. I'll catch you up.
Okay.
All right. Decker just kind of goes into the room, into the next chamber. As you can hear him from the other room saying, "All right, it's clear. This is the door to outside. This will get us as close to the communications relay as we can get."
Let's go.
All right, Peach, what are you doing?
Still there. Peach is still kind of half stuck in the memory a little bit. Wait, so we're all going together to the
The communications relay. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, a little late here.
Yeah.
Technobabble.
All right.
Yeah, and so I cut out a little bit when you said the most significant thing about the orb was, and then it cut out a little bit.
That it was hanging.
It
was hanging in the center of the room, unsupported, like in the air.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I needed to confirm that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, do you follow, or are you still there? Are you gonna do something?
I mean, so when I saw the memory, did I see the code that she entered or no? Would I
Uh,
need her specifically
huh?
to do it? Would I need like the woman that I saw specifically? She wasn't one of the survivors that was with
She
us.
was.
Oh, she
Yeah.
was. Okay.
That's how you have this memory, because you were sort of around her for a moment.
Okay.
As this is sort of like something that you're like, in addition to what is immediately in front of you, you're sort of starting to like starting to like, as you would with any new skill, starting to like figure out some parts of how this works. Yeah. To answer your question, you didn't have enough time, like you didn't have like the clarity to see the exact code that she used on the door.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It was
Yeah.
just a hope. Is she around or did she already
She
go?
went with the others. Yeah. She was with the other group of civilians who went for the shuttle.
Okay. Um, I don't know if this would work. I have the ability understanding, and that I don't know if I could use that within the dream. But it basically allows me to observe and study an object, and then the next time I see it, or the next time it like I think about it, I can
EMS it? Is that what it is?
yeah, I can basically the difficulty is reduced by one step. So if
Okay.
I wanted to kind of like figure out what it was, it would be easier for me basically. I don't know if that would
Okay,
be
I'll-
useful.
I'll-
I just
I will grant it to you just for the sake of this, and we'll revisit it when you get to that moment. But for the moment, we'll just say that yes, you did get that sort of understanding time.
okay. I just wanna figure out what it is, but let's just yeah, I'm gonna keep going. At this point, there's nothing I can do to go inside the door, even though all I want to do is like knock it down. So
All right.
I'll just get with them because
Take it down.
Yeah, none of us can take or produce a hit in this party. I
Yeah,
don't know.
there are no might-based characters in this group. Okay, so following along into the other room, you get there just as Decker has gets the door open, and he kind of glances outside, says, "All right, it still looks clear. Let's go. Let's go.
Follow.
So we'll cut back to the ship. Olam, as you see shadows moving in the hallway, and you start to hear footsteps. And as you're looking, you see a woman, an Anzalonian woman, step into the room holding a sidearm, dressed in looks like some sort of military uniform with the insignia of Silverbreak. And just behind her, you see a bunch of civilians. As she looks around the room, takes in the ship, and then gestures to those behind her. She makes her way in.
I try to catch their attention by just like leaning into the open space, and waving.
She notices you immediately and just...
And then I start to lower the ramp the rest of the way.
Okay. She stops at the base of the ramp and just starts like ushering the others in as they start making their way.
I step aside and I say, "Hi, welcome. Sorry it's dark. Here, you can borrow my flashlight. Careful, watch your step."
Yeah, they all start kind of filtering past you into the hold, and as it's not the only way to go from the ramp, but it is the most direct route. It is the largest opening, but once the last person is in, the woman at the bottom, the armed woman, steps in to the bottom. She says, "I'm Private First Class Sonia Coleman. I think you were told that we were coming?"
Yes. Hello. Hi. I'm Olam Ferber, 9th year student. We're having an issue with the power in here. Bina, she's our pilot, and I guess everything else is trying to get it started back up in the engine room. But I'm sorry, we can't offer you much except for shelter.
Hey, the promise of getting off world is more than we had a few minutes ago. So, thanks. We'll take it.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. It sounds like it's not really a promise yet, though, right? They've got to get that communications relay fixed. Have you heard anything from them?
She kind of glances back over her shoulder, says, "No, not yet. but they wouldn't have had time to get there just yet. So I'd say give them a few more minutes before we start actually worrying. She says, "Hold on." She stops. She starts listening. You can see that she's listening as she kind of takes her sidearm, pulls it up, and kind of turns back towards the bottom of the ramp. She turns back. She says, "This ramp go back up?"
Yes.
You might
I
want to
go
get started
over-
on that.
Is it also easy to bring it back up, or is it more difficult?
It's a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to have you make a roll.
Damn it.
As she basically like kneels down next to you at the top of the ramp with her sidearm at the ready. I'm going to have you make... I'm going to call this a speed roll because that's what seems to be more important here than might. Because like
Okay,
might,
yeah, that's
might-wise,
true.
it's being assisted. Like it's intended for this to happen, and it's not an old ship, so like the mechanisms aren't like fused or anything like that. So this is just a matter of how fast you can get this thing up. So the difficulty on this is going to be 3.
Okay, I'm gonna spend an effort. I do not have an edge, so I'm gonna spend 3 points from my speed pool
Okay.
to decrease that,
Okay.
which drops it to. You said it was a difficulty 3. Now it'd be 2.
Yes.
Okay, so.
You can do it.
As-
You got
as
it.
you're-
6 or better.
Oh, go ahead.
18.
Ooh.
Yes. Ooh, nice.
Nice.
Almost a minor effect. huh?
Almost.
Dang.
In combat it is, right?
in combat
Extra
it
damage.
is extra damage, not yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So as you start furiously pumping the manual release, you can see as she you glance down the ramp. You can't help yourself as you glance down the ramp and you see like one of the not one of the same individuals that you saw before, but still with the same kind of like green eyes and the sort of hunched posture, step into the room out of the corridor, glance over, sees both of you, and just starts running full tilt towards the ramp as she gets off a couple of shots and sort of slowing it, catching it in the chest as it sort of stops and then just straightens up and just keeps moving. And that split second that she was able to stop it gives you the time you need to lift the ramp so that it just closes and you hear just a go boom,
Oh, jeez.
on the outside.
Oh no.
Just to clarify, is there a ceiling above us?
Yes.
Is this just like more like a courtyard? Okay, so it's feed
Oh, sorry.
spaceport,
You mean in the on the spaceport? On the
Yeah,
platform.
sorry,
No. It's open. It's open up
I
on top.
got
Yeah.
okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Coleman just sort of like lowers her weapon and then just like sinks down from a kneeling position into just a sitting position with her back up against the bulkhead. She looks at you, says, "Good hustle." She like
Thanks.
pulls herself up, says, "Well, looks like they weren't distracted for long or anymore."
No, the ones we saw earlier were just kind of meandering. That one looked mad.
Yeah, you could say that. Of course, I don't know anything about them, so who knows? Maybe this is happy for it.
Delighted to be locked out.
Hey, listen, if you have anybody who's good with engines or power systems, I'm sure Bina could use them down in the engine room. I can lead the way.
She says, "I'm not sure we have anybody, but you can ask them. I don't know." Yeah,
All right.
let's get inside. So we'll cut down to the engine room, Bina.
I was
As
gonna
you're,
say, despite all the frustration, Bina is like a little bit excited about what's happening because this is her favorite type of fix. Is because it's a problem.
yeah,
This is a puzzle, and she's frustrated, but that is delightful to her. So
yeah. So you are currently sort of sitting underneath the engine at the moment, sort of messing with the power systems. Just sort of currently you've like attached a diagnostic tool to the engine, or just sort of running like yet another diagnostic on the power systems.
I
And
think I have to go outside. Like, is there something external that I have to deal with?
it's very unlikely.
Okay.
Just
makes me feel better.
yeah, it's very unlikely. But as you're sort of going through, the diagnostic comes back, and as you're looking at it, once again it tells you the exact same thing that it told you every other time you've run it: that power is off, all systems nominal.
You liar. She's gonna get back up and she's gonna do. What are there any relevant systems that would be down here that would have any sort of manual, optional, like for a manual component that she could mess with that isn't just part of the engine? Like, is she missing something? Was it where the boot was? Did the power circulation not start up fully again?
Okay, so taking those one at a time because I think
basically I don't know how to roll for this.
You
so
basically
I'm just
asked,
like, I don't.
Yeah, you asked two different questions there, so
Yes,
I'll
I
sort of
did.
approach them one at a time. So the first question, we'll get back to that because that's sort of like the actionable one. As far as like the problems that what could have caused it. As far as you know, like everything was working perfectly fine. The boot was only tied into some computer functionality, like processing functionality, not like it wasn't tied into systems other than like the drive. It should, as far as you know, it should not have affected this in this way. And the only thing that could have caused something like this, as far as you know, is just either a full manual shutdown or like a short somewhere, but it's clearly not a short because the systems are all perfectly fine. You would have been able to register a short.
Where would a manual shutdown take place?
From the cockpit, more than likely. That's the place. Yeah. That said, now going back to your first question.
Yes.
The engine itself does have sort of a manual starter, like that you can sort of like without, like you can start it from, every engine room has an engine that has a manual system that you can activate and start the engine from the engine room.
Okay.
And it's mechanical, not computer.
Yes. The hardware, not the software.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she's good at.
Yeah.
Okay. I think she's going to start with that since she's down in the engine room and see if she can get anything going with the manual start.
Okay. I'm not going to make you roll for that because it's not a difficult thing to do. It's a system that's already in place. As you find it's literally a crank.
All four arms.
Yeah. You just sort of take it and you just sort of pull back on it. As it clunks down into place, you see as the engine starts to turn and then just and starts turning quickly as power just sort of generates. In that moment, as like power starts coming on, lights are starting, you feel a surge of emotion that is not yours. You feel confusion and just sort of another brief flash of a flash of fear that is quickly then once again overwhelmed by confusion. And then it's just gone.
I look around. Do I see anyone in here?
You're alone in the
Wander
engine
down?
room.
Okay. Do I get any sense of directional? Do I get a directional sense, or do I just feel it? I don't actually know how this part of the power works. Like how the empathic thing. I don't know if she gets location or not.
You usually get sort of like general direction.
Vicinity, yeah.
Not this time. It's just sort of an emotion that is, it's not yours, but it's just sort of present.
She kind of like puts two of her hands on the engine and is like, hello?
You just hear, hi. As
She jumps back so fast.
you glance over, look frantically around the room as you see an unfamiliar face peeking into the room from the door to the engine room. You see a young boy, probably he's human, probably not older than like 18. As he looks into the room, he says, I was told that you needed help in the engine room, but it looks like things are online now.
If you want to help me run another diagnostic, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, sure.
Got it up.
He kind of looks around. He says, never been on a ship like this before.
Oh, isn't it great?
The only ship I've ever been on before now was the colony ship that brought us here.
Did you get to see the engine on that one?
No,
Oh. Welcome to the engine room.
thanks. I'm Jade.
Inoba. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. He says, okay, what do I do? And then we're going to go ahead and cut back to Peach and Mason. As you are basically went into like as soon as you left the facility, went into the sort of just like a flat out run across open space to the base of the relay. You can see the dish is sort of up above you, but like is tilted down. It's tilted down and not active. You don't see any like lights or anything active on it. It's the base at its base. It's probably about maybe 15 feet in every dimension, and it's probably about the whole dish, like to the top of the dish, is probably maybe like 50 feet up. The whole thing is sort of supported by a bunch of large metal struts that are like bolted into the ground. And there's a console sort of at the base of it where Brewer makes his way over to it and sets down his toolbox. He says, "Okay, this is a pretty simple part installation. I should be able to handle it no problem. Just give me a second." As he reaches over to it and starts like removing the panel off of the console and just starts like mucking around on the inside. Decker just says, "All right, I'm gonna need you just to cover the western approach." He kind of glances at you, Peach. Says, "Just keep an eye on him. Let him if he needs anything, just help him out. I'll cover this way."
Of course.
He kind of thinks for a moment and just says, "I don't know if you are trained in any kind of weapons or anything like that, but this is the only thing I've got left." And he pulls out basically like a collapsible stun baton as he hands it to you.
This is perfect. I'll just take it.
All right. He turns back and just sort of kneels down.
I'm trained in light weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. So, as he starts working here, he says, "Okay." You watch as he pulls a large power conduit out of the panel, and he sets it down. He says, "Okay, that's the hard part done, but now comes the noisy part. And if there's any of those things around, they're probably gonna come running. So we got to do this fast." He says, Decker just looks at him and says, "Just do what you have to do." He says, "Okay." And he leans down, and you can see as he pulls from his toolbox another power conduit. This one is still glowing, so you can see that it's active, whereas the other one looks definitely burnt out. As he starts fitting it inside and just trying to like angling it in, he sets it in, and you can hear him start like setting to work installing it. As you hear Decker just say, kind of like from your peripheral, say, "We've got movement." And as you glance over, you can see a couple of individuals who have like just come around the corner of one of the buildings nearby, who haven't seemed to have immediately noticed you just yet. But one thing that you both notice very clearly is that even at this distance, you can see that greenish glow that sort of is around, ever present around their eyes. And just at that moment, you can see he says, "All right, activating now." And he hits the button on the console as you just you hear from inside the relay. There's sort of like and you can hear power restored through it as the dish just sort of lifts upward, angles, and then just starts slowly turning, aligning. It is quite loud, and immediately the two figures just sort of heads whip towards you, and they just start running immediately in your direction. So,
All right, time to move
first
out.
first ever initiative of Infinite Horizon.
Oh my goodness.
So, this is going to be an initiative check, and the difficulty on this is going to be 3.
Olivia, I think you have a.
I'm just gonna let out a general. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I think you have
Oh,
a training in this, so I think you get to lower one, right? Because you have a dexterity power shift.
Yeah, yeah. So I have it should lower it the difficulty.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was just gonna say Peach is gonna kind of turn and just be like, we'll protect each other, and just kind of give everyone a encouraging words. Just do anything. This is just to help the spirit.
All right.
I'm gonna also use my power shift dexterity.
Sure.
Can I use running as a trained skill in this?
Not for initiative.
Not for initiative? Cool.
No.
That's alright.
Okay. So
Just
Let's see. That's
that brings you down to a 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. So I have difficulty 2 right now, right? Okay.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got. So.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I got a natural 1.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Ooh, a GM intrusion.
Ooh, on
Why so
initiative.
many of those ones?
Oof.
You can't see it. It's on my nice metal
Oh,
die.
man.
Still a 1.
Okay. So, let's settle that first. So
Okay.
what did you get?
I got a 14.
Okay. So here's
I don't
basically
like the way that he says that.
So here's basically how this plays out. As you get yourself ready, you're kind of like steadying yourself, putting yourself kind of at Mason's back and like in between Mason and Brewer. And as you're sort of getting yourself ready for that, you activate the stun baton. And as you do, you can feel something's not right as it shorts in your hand. And you are going to immediately take 2 points of might damage.
Oh no.
Okay. Might isn't max right now. It'd be good.
But the initiative is yours, Mason. So basically, right now you have these two creatures that are just sprinting towards your group.
And we're
We'll
running.
protect each other. Stun.
You're still
and pull
standing
them.
in that spot as far as I know. Right now, you're just still standing
Okay.
because Brewer literally just activated the thing.
Before we run, I'm gonna pop some shots off.
Okay, so
Take an aim. I'm gonna try aim for the head. I don't know if that's a thing that's will make my shooting more difficult. I'm just
it will. So
I'll make some.
yeah.
Okay, just some regular shots then.
All right, sounds good. So the difficulty on this is an attack. The difficulty is going to be. This is a speed attack, and the difficulty on that is going to be 3.
Okay, I'm gonna go for it.
Okay.
I don't have anything that's gonna help me with shooting, per se.
What type of a weapon is it?
It's like
This-
a
Is
hand
that a
blaster.
range?
Yeah, this is a light weapon.
Or a light weapon.
This will count as a light weapon.
So do you have training in light weapons?
No.
Oh, okay.
You don't?
Well, as a let's see, as an
Do explore? I feel like
Yeah, they
explorers.
do.
Okay, yeah.
They
Then
do.
that'll help you.
Right.
That'll reduce the difficulty.
by 1.
Mhm.
So now
By
it's 2.
Yes.
I can do that.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Cool. 6 or better.
Yep. Let's do
Get
it.
him. Get him.
That is at 18.
Okay.
Nice.
So you can actually
Nice.
on an 18
Add
you
damage?
get I believe it's 2 extra damage.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
That's nice.
Okay. So that's a total of 4 damage inflicted. Okay. Cool. Sorry, I should actually probably be writing some of this stuff
Mason's
down.
just like, it's been a while since I shot a gun. I mean, that feels really good.
All right. Hold on. Let me. Okay. Oh, okay. Cool. So yeah, you fire off a shot at one of them, catching center mass. Just as it just keeps running. It slows down a little bit, but just keeps running. Then I'm actually going to say that Decker in this instance is actually just going to provide an asset by basically just like with his rifle is just sort of like going to be laying down suppressing fire essentially. So like harrying them as they make their way up. So as he opens up fire, just sort of like spraying as they start like dodging and getting hit in some cases and falling back. Attacks against them are going to be treated as 1 step lower. So
Nice.
which now brings us to it is Peach. It is your turn.
Cool.
Actually, no, it's their turn.
No,
I
it's
forgot.
their turn.
It's their
Yeah.
turn, yeah, because you got that nat 1. All right, so they're going to spend their entire action just running to get up to where you guys are, and that's going to be their whole turn because that's how far they were far enough away that's what they need to do. So,
Get 'em.
yeah, so they just run to get up to yeah, that's what I'm just gonna go with that. I just noticed that they have longer movement than I thought they did, but that's what I'm gonna go with. So. They basically close into range with you, and now it would be Peach's turn.
Okay, so the baton that I had, is that still usable, or is that a situation where like I dropped it and I'm running?
No, it is still usable. It seems like it's faulty, like in some way, but it still has charge, and it's not like electrocuting you or anything. It just shocked you pretty bad.
Okay.
But
And sorry, how far away from us are they?
they're now within immediate range. So yeah.
Okay, so if I whacked one, could I also run, or is that like
Yeah.
the one or the other?
You basically, like, the way that it works is you can move in an immediate distance and still take an action, but
Okay.
beyond immediate distance is an action in of itself.
If you're going to start running, that's what you have to do. You
Right.
can't take an action.
Okay. I don't know. I want to help fight it, but I also. Okay. I think I'm just gonna run away.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that's the best call. So I'm gonna go ahead, and just try and kind of get as far away from these things as possible.
Okay.
And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. So Peach basically just starts running.
Is Brewer finished with what he's doing?
Yeah. He was
Okay.
starting to put his tools away, but seems to have at this point.
Wait, is he still there, or is he? I thought he started running away.
No, nobody started running.
Oh damn! Sorry, I thought that we were all running away.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
nobody started running yet because they sort of like this thing activated. They noticed and just started running towards you. And they are fast. So like there hasn't been a whole lot of time to react other than Mason's shots that he fired off and Decker sort of laying down some suppressing fire.
Oh, okay then. Sorry, I thought we were all running away. Okay, so then I'm gonna go ahead and take a whack at it and
Okay.
then try and kind of. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So this is
Or just like a backing up kind of situation and kind of getting around the people that have better weapons than me.
sure. So
I'm gonna go ahead and kind of-
you're trained in light weapons, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And the difficulty is reduced by 1 step this time. So right now it's a difficulty 1 to attack them.
Ooh, I like that. That's what I like to see. Okay. I'm gonna use a different die than the one that
All right.
You got it. Get him.
Ooh.
18.
18.
Woo.
Ooh, another
Jeez.
18.
Nice.
That is awesome. Sorry, 1 second. I just realized
Every
that this
time
is
I've
a
told
good.
someone, yeah, you can do it, they've rolled an 18, and I think that's kind of startling.
You bless the dice.
I just realized this is a good opportunity for more music.
Battle music.
Battle music. Oop, that's not the one I wanted. Hold on. I'll get there. In the future, I will actually have these prepared ahead of time. Okay, so describe to me how your attack goes on this thing.
I'm basically gonna go ahead and try and knock it knock it down. So I was gonna kind of swing at the lower body and try and kind of get it to fall.
Okay. All right, so you take a strike out at the creature as. Hold on. I just make sure that the levels might be a little wonky on this, so let me know if they.
Yeah, I'm more going for like quick, fast, and like very kind of concentrated blows because I'm not super strong. More like specific points.
Okay. That makes sense to me. Okay. So, as you swing out to the creature, kind of catching it around the middle, which one are you attacking out of curiosity? The same one that Mason did, or the different one?
If the one that Mason attacked is close, then yeah.
Okay,
that one.
sure. We'll say that. So you reach out, striking it. Basically, in all of the like the fire that was coming at them, they both made a beeline for Decker. And so in that, as you are sort of outside of their notice for the moment, you just strike out, catching one directly across the ribs, and you can hear as they kind of crack as you hit. The creatures don't seem to react, other than to sort of like physically react to the blow. But now the one that you hit, it's looking pretty beat up, but it is now like focused on you.
Okay.
All right, which brings us back to Mason.
All right, the one that Peach just took a crack at that I also shot before that, I'm going to shoot it again.
Okay, go ahead and make your attack. It is still modified down 1 difficulty, so I think it's just a difficulty 1 for you as well.
Okay. Here goes, guys. 11.
Okay, that's still a hit. So you fire off a couple of like awkward shots as now it's in like pretty close proximity. You kind of turn quickly and start firing off at it, catching it kind of in the middle, as you can see as it's definitely slowing down for sure. These creatures, whatever they once were, are definitely proving to be very hardy.
Okay.
But it looks as it's definitely slowed down significantly.
Also, where's Brewer in relation to all this?
Brewer is just sort of like clutching the console right now, holding his toolbox to his chest, like looking like he's ready to swing it if necessary.
Okay,
but he's
cool.
basically just like crouched next to the console.
I'll make sure he's behind me
Yeah.
the best I can.
Okay. All right. Decker's gonna keep doing what he's doing actually, as he's just sort of like, actually he's not really in a position to do that right now. So actually what he's gonna do is he's just going to sort of like back up, and he's just going to like whack one of them, just like pushing it towards, like trying to knock it off balance, knocking it towards Peach basically, and that makes it their turn. That is still, by the way, the effect of that is that I'm still treating it as an asset on the attack, but specifically for Peach, not for everybody now. That makes it now on them, as the one that Peach, the one that you just hit, reaches out to like basically claw at you with its hands. It just starts reaching for you, trying to attack, just sort of scrabbling at you, trying to get everywhere. So I need you to make a speed defense roll. The difficulty is going to be 3.
Okay. Okay. I think I have anything. No, I'll put this. I do not really.
Ooh.
I mean, dexterity wouldn't do anything for this situation, really. It's just a straight roll, really.
Okay.
Isn't this a dexterity? Isn't this a speed defense?
It is a speed
but I
defense.
don't.
Are you trained in all speed tasks?
I just have a I just have a power shift in dexterity, so I don't think that would help with specific. I mean, unless it
a
does.
power shift in speed.
Let me pull up. Henry, you said you know offhand what page they're on?
Yeah, 271. Dexterity power shift does give you a boost to speed defense.
So this would be this is a dexterity defense roll, basically. It's
Yeah.
speed. So
Okay, I didn't know if that was like a blanket thing for every
I feel like it
that's
isn't, but I think I do remember that you put it into speed.
Each of the named power shifts in the rules says like pretty specifically what they apply to.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
It
well-
is movement, acrobatics, initiative, and speed defense. So yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll make a note of that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin.
So that modifies, that's difficulty is now down to 2, I believe. Okay.
And then I'm gonna go ahead and I spend.
Was the
Average
Decker
skill, like,
asset to attack or to defend?
It was to attack.
Okay, so 9.
Yeah, so I need a 9 or better.
6 or better, I think.
Oh, 6 or better.
Yeah.
Is it lower?
Right. Yeah.
I can do that. You know, I'm not gonna spend anything. We'll just go for it. We'll be scratched.
You can do it. Dodge it. You got it.
Lucky number 13.
All right, cool. So as it comes in, it strikes at you, and you just sort of knock one of the claws out of the way with the baton, and dodge the other one as it just comes like artlessly. Like it's not precise attacks at all. These are just big sort of like swings. The attacks, they strike you in that moment as you are like, it strikes you that these are attacks that are very animalistic in the way that they are happening. This feels like these are creatures that these are not. They may be humanoid and have once been people, but now they're just sort of mindless. It's pretty clear from this. So the other one is going to do the same thing this time. Well, actually, the other one is sort of stumbling at this moment, but it is going to still attempt to attack Mason as it's sort of Decker pushed it towards Peach, but instead sort of stumbles towards you, getting closer to you, and sees you and just strikes out. So go ahead and make also a speed defense roll.
The same 4? Was it
Difficulty 3.
3? Cool. All right. How about that dexterity power shift, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that knocks it down to 2.
Yeah. I think it knocks.
Or
Don't you have 2 power shifts in dexterity?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I do.
Okay. So yeah, it actually knocks it down to 1.
Okay. I'm not gonna get hit by this thing.
Mhm.
Become a space zom. 18.
Okay, so you feel as like suddenly like you feel a tension in your legs as you just spring quickly out of the way, like almost with. And Peach, you sort of looking over this creature at Mason, you actually see as he seems to spring out of the way with superhuman speed, just sort of. He shouldn't be able to do that, but just sort of like very quickly just out of the way. Your body reacting to this moment as it comes under attack, you just move.
That's cool.
You can feel like that similar sensation as you did on the ship of like the muscles in your legs just like rippling for a moment. You can feel the change it's not entirely uncomfortable as you just sort of move suddenly, much more quickly than you think you should have been able to. Completely being missed by these attacks.
That was cool.
All right, which now brings us to Peach. It is your turn.
Okay. How many of them are there?
It's just the 2 of them right now. One of them looks like it's pretty beaten up at the moment.
Okay. If there's only 2 of them left, for enthrall, I know it's supposed to only affect one creature. Could I spend extra intellect to get it to affect both of them, to distract both of them, or would that not be possible?
Sure. Yeah. I'll say. So what is the cost of it normally?
One intellect.
It's 1.
Yeah, 1 intellect, and I have an edge, so it would cost nothing.
Okay. So I'll say in addition to that, like, so it's normally a free. It'll just end up costing you. It'll be an intellect 2 spend.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna kind of hold up the baton and kind of wave it around, and basically start kind of clapping my hand and just literally making a ton of noise.
Yeah.
And just kind of trying to distract them and pull them away from everybody else.
Okay. So as you do that, you kind of like are trying to get their attention, and you feel your mind tap into something new. That same sort of sensation that you've been having since you awoke on the ship, that uncanny knowledge of people and their experiences, their memories. You sort of tap into that, but this time instead of just sort of passively taking it in, you push with it. And as you do, you see as these creatures, they both stop their movements as they look directly at you.
Leave these people be.
Both of them just sort of arms kind of go down as they both just sort of slump slowly back to sort of like a passive posture. Both of them just sort of not moving at all, just sort of seemingly just mesmerized by you. Decker is just sort of standing there, like with the butt of his rifle raised as he's looking. He's just, what the hell just happened? What did you? Never mind. Look, let's get out of here before more of them show up.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay. So Brewer stands up, still clutching his toolbox to his chest, looking at these creatures, as he sort of like pulls closer to Peach and just sort of gets kind of behind Peach. As Decker says, I was hoping to be able to just sort of run back through buildings, but I don't think we have time for that. He kind of looks around and says, I don't know where they're going to be coming from. We're just going to have to make a break for it.
All right.
All right, let's go. And you start just running across open ground. Running through the colony itself, back towards the shuttle port. We will cut back to the ship as... Oh, I will say, as this is happening, as you sort of skirt around them, they don't ever stop. Like they rotate to sort of like follow Peach, but they don't like their gaze always following you, but they don't move. They're just sort of like still just sort of turning to look at you. And as you run off into the distance, you kind of glance back. They're still just sort of standing there watching, not moving, just watching after you. That's where we'll cut back to the ship, where Olim and Bina, both of you have now come. Bina, having finished your diagnostics, everything seems perfectly fine. All the power's back on. Manually starting the engine seems to have jumped all the ship's systems, and all systems are nominal.
Fine. I think she argues with the engine a little bit, and this poor kid, Jade, was that his name?
Yeah.
Was just like having to listen to her like kind of bitch out the engine a little bit.
Yeah.
Before they went back, I think, and then joined everyone else.
All right. So basically, at this point, you've reconvened back in the hold as people are sort of like sitting down, settling themselves in.
Oh, she did give a big forearm shrug to Olin, being like, I don't know. No idea. Forearm shrug.
All right. So at this point, the sounds from outside have died down, like the pounding from the creatures. Yes.
I do want to pull up visual of outside. I want to be able to keep an eye out for our friends and also for more funky, green-eyed, warped people.
There's still two of them that are out on the platform. They're no longer like hitting the ship or trying to get in, but they're just sort of now back to wandering aimlessly around the landing pad.
Okay. How reliable is the terminal? Like, could I send do I think I could send images, or is only text going to? Like, I couldn't send them like a video feed of out here from the outside.
You normally would be able to,
but not here, probably.
Yeah, things were like your transmissions were sort of garbled. Which reminds me, at this point, you hear a beeping sound from your terminal as you look down, and you can actually see that like the signal has cleared up significantly, very suddenly.
Oh, okay. Could I feed them the present, like what they would see, what they'll encounter when they get here?
Yeah.
It's still too much.
Yeah, no, you could do that.
Okay, I'll patch them through to visuals of the docking bay so that they have an updated, like a constant feed of what's here.
Okay. Yeah. So you send it, and you can see that they are receiving it. Unlike before, where like anything other than text had basically just been like garbled and just like unable to send, basically. But now you can see that they're receiving it. As you're looking at that, you kind of glance around the room, and Olim would notice that that Private Coleman has actually started sort of moving around taking a look around, having finished kind of calming people down, seems to be like moving around the hold itself, looking into corridors and things like that, looking like she's probably getting ready to start moving about the ship itself. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'd just say, hey, make yourself at home. We haven't been here too long. A long story. I'm thinking as soon as our friends get aboard, we'll take off and get to orbit at least. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm. Oh, hi, Private Coleman.
Oh, is
nice
this?
to meet you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she says,
Bina Oba, and she'll put out her arm to shake it.
yeah. She smiles and says, and takes it and says, any word? Have you heard anything yet from your friends?
No, but I tried to send them the video feed from the outside so that they would, have a better idea of what was happening when they came in, and it went through. So that means they probably succeeded, at least on the. Is it a satellite?
Yeah, it's basically just like a long-range transmission tower, essentially.
The transmission tower must be up because I could contact them slightly easier. So
Good.
that's good, but no word from them specifically.
Okay. Well, that's a good sign. She sort of thinks for a moment, says, "Well, it doesn't help us in the immediate terms, but at least hopefully now Silverbreak can send somebody to help salvage the situation, because."
Bina abruptly excuses herself from the cargo hold and says, hold on, watch the door. And she's gonna go. I want to go. She's gonna leave and go up to the cockpit.
Okay. Yeah.
If there's a conversation that continues downstairs, you can do that first. if you
Okay.
want.
Sure.
No, I just watched the damn door. I lower the hatch down a little, or the ramp down a little bit more.
Sure.
But not very much because I know there's still.
You have full power control over it now. You won't have to do it manually.
Look at that. Okay, then never mind. I leave it up, and I'm just looking at the outside feed too
Okay.
from that location. That's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll cut back to you guys as you're running across the colony, and as you're running through, glancing to either side, every once in a while, like in between buildings, and in some cases inside of the buildings, you can see movement. You don't really like stop long enough to get a good look, but as you're passing by, distinctly you can see like flashes of sort of a dull, sickly green, of like eyes of creatures. Whatever had distracted them before and drawn them away, they're definitely back now. As you just sort of go tearing through the center of the colony, you find your way finally back to, after what seems like forever, find your way back to the entrance to the shuttle port. Stepping inside, you've been at some point prior to getting there, you would have received the feed.
Yep.
So like you basically stop like right outside the entrance to the shuttle port, as Decker sort of looks inside, says, "Okay, what's the plan?"
We're at our ship.
You're outside the shuttle port right now.
Okay.
So you're still outside.
Okay.
Inside, you know that there are still a couple of those because of the feed that Bina sent you.
Okay, I let them know that we're sorry, we're on the outside, but we're waiting for cover.
Okay. Actually, at this point, if you want, as you're looking down, you can see that your signal has cleared up significantly. You could actually probably do like a like
voice?
direct, yeah.
A voice. Okay. Yeah, we're right on the outside, but there's still a couple of them in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Olam,
Oh,
you're
but
definitely
you're in there.
you're picking that up.
Yeah, there's a couple milling about. They were attacking the ship, but they're just kind of wandering now. We can have the ramp down in a split second if you're ready.
How many are there?
There's two.
Oh, I'm just worried those things
Are
are
they
really
near
fast.
each other?
Sorry.
Huh?
Are they near each other, or are they just like on opposite sides? Just
They
meandering?
sort of pass by each other occasionally, but they're mostly just sort of like randomly moving about. At the moment, they're like not super close to each other, but they're,
Are there weapons on this ship?
We're just gonna.
Bina, you're overhearing this conversation as like that's
Well, I
finally.
have my
As you're finally like
okay.
as these are finally coming up, you're like kind of looking at the console. Sure enough, you actually do see. So I'll tell you, this is actually what happens as you're sort of thinking that you're sort of going weapons. You see a light on the console just flick on as you look over at it, and you can see that it appears to be like the activation for the weapon systems.
She kind of like looks around and like whispers, "Thanks." And then I would like to basically just like locked and loaded, set it up to fire. I don't know if there's like a level of blast I can do. I want to like hit the far corner of like this building or like out
Okay.
on the ground somewhere. I want to hit the ground like 200 yards away or 200 feet away from us.
Sure.
That's what I would like to aim for.
Yeah. I'm not going to require a roll for that because you're not aiming at a target. You're just firing at a spot
and I would
of
like
ground.
I would like to say into the group call, hold please, and then fire.
All right, so yeah, you fire at a spot of ground. You don't quite hit the ground as it hits a mountain of like crates as it just vaporizes one of them, and the rest of them just go tumbling over.
Yeah.
Immediately from the feeds, you all are seeing this as they all just sort of immediately look at the crates and just sprint for the crates.
Now's the time.
All right.
All right, so
To get on that side.
yeah. So you guys outside hear the distinctive sound of a ship's weapon system firing, and you just hear
all the heroes, hold please.
yeah,
That's our cue, guys. That's our cue.
and you hear Bina's voice just go 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 as you all just start rushing, booking it in. I'm not gonna make you roll as you're just running. Olim brings the ramp down as just. As you all just run, piling inside, turning just in time as the ramp is coming up to see as one of them has like looked up from behind the crates that has just like fallen and just starts like vaults over the crates and just starts running, sprinting, and just like reaches up as the ramp is closing, reaches up and grabs. You can see as the fingers like curl around the edge of the ramp as it's going up, and as the ramp starts closing, you can see as the fingers. You hear a screeching sound, and the fingers get like pulled out as the ramp closes.
Oh, it's glad we didn't get extra fingers.
Yeah, I thought for sure we were gonna have some garnishes for next
Ooh.
week.
20. I don't need any more.
All right, so as you all just like pile inside the safety of the ship, you all finally, for the first time in minutes, take a deep breath.
Oh yeah. Mason's on his back.
Yeah.
I look over to Olim. Good job, kid.
Thanks. I opened and closed the ramp a few times.
Is everyone's inside? Like everyone that we came with?
Yep. Yeah.
I have one. The thing that I had originally thought that I wanted to do in the bridge, but this was just kind of a
Yeah,
we can do
sure.
this while I'm up here too. I want to go and find if there are system logs or something. What? Because you said the way to turn off the ship is in the cockpit.
Mhm.
When did that happen, and was that triggered from the cockpit?
Gotcha,
Was that
yeah.
from here?
Yeah.
Bridge, I guess.
That's easy enough to do. Is you pull up those logs, just pulling up essentially like a system report, and you can see the exact moment where the power went off. It does not appear to have been triggered from the bridge. It was just a full system shutdown that just happened. It makes no sense. You're sort of sitting there puzzling over that as just kind of behind you as your companions sort of pull like a step in onto the cockpit. With Decker is with them as well as Coleman. So as you all make your way onto the bridge, seeing Bina sort of poring over the consoles, just sort of looking, she kind of glances up to see you all stepping back onto the.
She waves with one and is still working with three.
So, hey, I don't mean to be rude or anything. Were we taking off here? Are we gonna ascend?
Can we now? We were ground bound before.
Decker nods. He says, "Long range communication relay is online, so should operation of docking and takeoff procedures shouldn't be automated anymore."
Okay, I'll interface with it and see if it'll let us go.
Quick aside before we take off, and I'm gonna turn to like all the colonists who are here.
They're still down in the hold.
Yeah, we're up on the bridge.
Yeah.
We're up here yet? Okay. Okay. Actually, this is probably something that I should talk about with you
Sure.
guys first before.
I
We
mean,
don't
if you want to say that, like, whatever this is, if you want to say that it happened before you left,
I think that I would want to. What I'm about to say, I think I would want to talk to other people about before I
Sure.
went and talked to the colonists about
Okay.
it. What's going on out here? We don't know how this thing is spread. What if these colonists are infected, and we take them off planet, and we spread the infection?
I hadn't thought that far.
Decker speaks up. He says, the last medical reports that we got stated that it wasn't a viral infection. It wasn't any kind of alien bacteria or anything like that. They were honestly stumped. They didn't know what was going on. But they quickly. That's one of the reasons we never went into quarantine. They ruled out contagions of any kind.
So either you have it or you don't.
It's what it seems like. I'm honestly not sure why we aren't the way that they are, but if I had to guess, he kind of looks at you, Peach, and he says, if you think that there was something inside the research facility that caused this, then maybe there was some sort of containment inside the research facility that protected us. I don't know. It's the best theory I have right now. I know that any research facility has safeguards in place for specific to whatever the research is.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Eventually Silverbreak will send somebody to, now that the transmission beacon is on, they'll send somebody and we'll get our answers that way. But for now, this is probably not the safest place for us.
They also lost a very large vessel on the other side of the planet, so I think this might have been maybe a priority for them at some point.
Huh. Well, at this point, an indicator on the ship starts beeping. You can see the beeping as you turn, and as you look at this, it's coming from the ship's sensors. As you're looking at the ship's sensors, what you're seeing is that the ship itself seems to be picking up a large ship that has just jumped into atmosphere, or not atmosphere, but into orbit.
Any identification do I get from that? Do they have any sort of ping that?
Yeah.
You know.
Silverbreak.
As you're looking, you actually do see you see it registered as a Silverbreak vessel. And as Decker is looking over your shoulder, he says, "Hey, there it is. We're gonna get our answers soon." At which point Coleman says, "That was really fast. It should have taken them much longer for the relay signal to get to them. And we're on the fringes of space."
Like I said, they lost a pretty big ship here just this morning. Very recently.
Yeah.
On the other side of the planet. I think they're coming for that.
Yeah, I don't think they're here to bring us answers.
Well, maybe they don't. Maybe they're here because the colony went dark. I don't know. But it's been about a week. Do you mind? He said, "It's your ship, but do you mind if I hail them?"
I look at the rest of you.
I look at Bina.
Is there any way to route through the this port, this docking port, so it's not so it's coming from the station, not the ship?
Yeah, you could probably do that.
Okay, I want to just kind of conference call into the
Sure.
into the station and let them use it through there instead of this ship.
Yeah. So he stands back and waits for you to patch that through, and as he sort of stands over your shoulder looking, says, "Okay." Says, "Silverbreak vessel. This is Second Lieutenant Jareth Decker, currently of the surviving colony members. Please respond." there's just silence. As he just sort of stands there.
It's another unmanned
Says-
ship.
He says, "Repeat. This is Second Lieutenant Jareth Decker, of Silverbreak Corporate Security. Is there anyone there? Please come in."
I immediately go to the scanner sensors. Can I don't know how close that ship is. Can I scan for life on it?
Yeah, I'll say that you can do that. It's a little harder to scan for life, but you can scan
Life signs?
Yeah. I'm just gonna say that you're picking up. It's a big ship. This is a capital ship. Immediately you're picking up on several things. First of all, you are seeing probably thousands of life signs on that ship. The second thing that you're picking up, and probably the most alarming thing that you're picking up, is that currently...
All of them are asleep?
No.
No.
Currently, the weapon systems are powering up, and they are all aimed directly at the colony. And that's what we're going to pick up next week.
Yes, it is! Yes, it is!
I'm starting to think these Silverbreak fellows aren't so nice.
They're not very nice at all.
Oh, boy.
Not you would get any answers from them, but maybe we'll just get blown up.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
they got something for us.
A knuckle sandwich.
Huh?
Oh, he said they'll have something for us, and I said it'll be a knuckle sandwich.
Yes,
From
delivered in the
orbit.
form of air-to-ground laser barrage.
Yeah.
I really think they just wanted to watch the colony collapse and study it. That's what I think. But
Oh man.
Well, we will find out next time. Oh, boy. Yeah. So...
Thanks for coming, everybody!
Yeah. This one was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was so fun. So, a few things before we close out for the night. This on Friday, any of you who were not here at the beginning and missed the announcements at the beginning, this Friday we're going to be having a Ramblemancy at 7 p.m. Pacific time, where we're going to be talking about our topic this week is going to be robots, androids, and synthetic life forms. So we're going to be talking all about those in our favorite artificial life forms in pop culture, in stories, and just sort of in general. Yeah, so that'll be a fun topic, I think. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and also don't forget to, on Monday, you can catch the next episode of Dreamwell Chronicles at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, where our very own resident bard, Mr. John Boyle, is running a D&D 5th edition campaign in a whole new world, a whole new cast of players. It's pretty dang cool. You should check it out. The writers' room meeting for that today was awesome, and I'm very excited to see how that goes. So, yeah. So yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and just sort of close out. Don't forget that you'll be able to find this episode will be up on our YouTube probably Sunday. It'll probably be sooner than that actually, but the first time took me a little longer because I was trying to figure everything out. But so it'll probably be sooner than Sunday. I'll make an announcement in our Discord and on Twitter and everywhere.
It should go up in podcast form probably 24 to 48 hours after it goes up on YouTube.
Yeah.
So look out of that too.
Yep. All right. Well, good night, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We'll see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.